Coming up on this program, we show you how to get connected. Find out how to choose an internet service provider. Discover the newest form of communication, electronic mail.
Ways down and ready to ride. One by one, billion by billion, and holding up half the sky. Raise your hand if you're ready and willing. If you know it's time. Time for a girl on time. Time for a girl on time. Time for a
I just had a momentary thought, an intrusive thought of like, maybe you should just not talk. Just like, see how long Silent Paisley can maintain a few people. Courtney, how are you feeling? I'm worried about you. Hi guys, I hope everybody's doing well today. Carol, you saw the first half of this case. Well, you can hang out with us and enjoy it. I've also seen the first like 35 minutes of this case. Then I went to the gym, recorded it while I was at the gym, and I was doing other things. So the second half is a mystery to me. I think that I don't know. I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. But, I mean, who am I kidding? What else do I have to do tonight? Other than watch court with you guys. Yay! It's quite a hearing, indeed. We have a pro se mom against, in fact, a very not, wordy lawyer, I would say. Possibly the best situation we could possibly get. This could have gone on for like 15 days, but I think it managed to get done in this afternoon. So let's just get started on that, shall we? I think we shall. Give me a moment. I'll pull it up. Also, YouTube Daddy, he's in a bad mood today. So if you're having issues, if things are not flowing properly, go ahead and blame YouTube Daddy for that. Also, if we want, remember how yesterday I joked about YouTube being my data daddy, or Google being my data daddy or data daddy? I was talking about cruises, and who the fuck do you think calls me today? A cruise line? Do we think that's a coinkydink? Really? Did I go to the website? No. Did I fill in anything? No. I spoke about it in a chat, and then, lo and behold, cruise line phoning me. That's great algorithm work, I have to say it. I mean, that sounds really, it's insane, but effective. Oh, I know it. Oh, Mike. Mike just made me realize something. Anyways, let's continue. I was a shore excursion manager for a company on land, a land-based company, not the cruise ship themselves. We provided tours to them, but I worked closely with ShoreX managers. That's a good job on board a ship. Casey Carey, thank you so much. I don't know why Streamlabs isn't saying thank you, but I am. Hold on. I love it. Thank you so much. So much. Okay, let's get going. This lady, she's got. Let's watch it together. Let's watch it together. Look at her face. She's not happy already. Hi, Ed, NPC. Lisa's here, Shane's here, Mike's here, Vicky's here, Cellulite Yoga Pants, Courtney, sick. Please get the remote control and get back into bed, Courtney. Oh, Felicia, you are not wanted today. You can go away. All right, let's get her going.
Is that mute, ma'am? Yeah, if you could unmute, please. Just want to make sure you can hear you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you. One moment here to open the record.
Ashley Maddox.
Court is now in session with the Honorable Brian K. Kirkin presiding. It is Thursday, October 24th, 2024 at 8:34 a.m. This is case number 2024-933 DM, Michael Maddox versus Ashley Maddox. Attorney Wesley Todd for the plaintiff.
Good morning to everyone.
Morning.
This is the time and place set for the trial in this matter. I'll let both of you know that I did have opportunity this morning to interview your children and found them to be very pleasant, and so that we concluded that part of it. And now we're ready for the trial. Mr. Todd, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay. And Miss Maddox, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Todd, do you wish to make an opening statement or proceed to proofs?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. The parties were married July 14th of 2014. They have two minor children. They separated in July of 2023. There's an established custodial environment with both parents. We are requesting joint legal and joint physical custody, with parenting time being every other week. In terms of spousal support, that is not pled, so that should not be an issue. As far as property, we are requesting the court follow our property chart, as no opposing property chart was submitted.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, you have an opportunity to make an opening statement if you wish, or you can reserve your opening statement, or you can waive your opening statement. What would you like to do?
Reserve my opening statement, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll reserve your opening statement. Mr. Todd, you can proceed with your case.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, is there a Charles Maddox in the waiting room?
Yes, there is. I mean,
I'd like to call him as my first witness.
Okay.
Thank God.
you could
Bill's
unmute your
here.
device,
I need
please.
to laugh.
Mr. Maddox, we're going to take some testimony from you. So if you would, get the camera on you, and we'll have you raise your right hand and be sworn in, and then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Todd, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Maddox, how do you know the parties in this case?
their family,
And so how long have you known Miss Maddox?
14, maybe 15 years.
How much interaction have you had with the parties and the children?
A lot.
When is the last time you saw the children?
A few days ago.
And are you involved with the pickup and the drop-offs for the children?
Yes, I help out with the pickups and the drop-offs.
How is the interaction between Mr. Maddox and the children based off of your experience and observation?
I'd say it's great.
What does he normally do with the children?
Well, they talk, play games, go to the movies, watch basketball games. Go to the lake.
And do the children go to him for care and guidance?
Yes.
Do you have any examples of this?
Yeah, they usually start their visits. They just sit down and spend time catching up on what's been going on in their lives. I've heard him advise them and give them direction. And
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. She's on the move. Where will she go? What will she grab? Also, that was pretty quick. Just make a mental note of that. Make a mental note of that. Courtney says she's fleeing. She's fleeing. Michael looks pissed. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Also, guys, tell me what you had for dinner. If you didn't like what you had for dinner, tell me what you wish you had. I got a recipe request from my, because I'm a personal chef to an asshole in his 40s, if you didn't know that. And he requested 2 things. He gave me a book to read. I was like, okay, bitch, no, that's not how that works. But then secondly, he gave me I do try and make the recipes if he picks out the actual recipe. So it's butternut squash fries. Sounds pretty good. Don't tell him I said that.
help them out with their needs.
And do the children appear to be excited when they see Mr. Maddox?
Oh, yeah.
Without telling me what the children say, how do you believe that? How do you come to that conclusion?
Well, every time they come to the house to visit, they have a big smile on their face. They run up and give them a big hug.
And there are 2 minor children, correct?
Yes.
And is this the same for both of the children?
Yes, it is.
Do you know anything regarding Miss Maddox's stability?
Yes.
Do you know if she's currently working?
I don't believe she's working.
And do you know where she's currently living?
Yeah, she lives in a house that we own, but she's about to get evicted.
Has that process been started?
Yes.
What's the status of where that process is now?
We just recently talked to our lawyer. We think we're getting closer to closure on it. I'm thinking a couple weeks, but I'm not sure how the court, how they move, how fast they move.
But is it accurate that eviction proceedings have been started?
Yes.
And have eviction proceedings been finalized in district court?
Yes.
And was an appeal filed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And do you have any concerns about Miss Maddox's stability?
I thought I just answered that question, but
Sorry, I apologize. Mental stability?
I don't know much about her mental stability.
What about Mr. Maddox? Does he have consistent income?
Yes.
Does he have a consistent place to live?
Yes.
Do you have any concerns about either of those things?
No.
Do you have any concerns about his mental stability?
No, I don't.
Is there anything else you believe would be important for the court to know today?
I'd just like the court to know that he loves his children, that he's a great dad, and that I like to have him be able to spend as much time with them as possible.
And approximately how often are you able to see the children?
I see quite a bit. I mean, my grandson, him and I, several times a week.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Miss Maddox, you have.
So this was when I really got excited because I thought to myself, oh, Wesley, oh, how succinct you were. And I so appreciate it, Wesley Todd. Thank you so much. You've gone up many notches in my book. And so I appreciate that. Very succinct. I'm excited for that. Oh shit, I almost spilled this. I stopped and got ice on the way home.
Have an opportunity to question the witness if you wish to do so. Do you have any questions of this witness? Excuse me?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, sir, there are no other questions. You're free to go. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I guess I apologize. Before we remove Mr. Maddox, I'd like to briefly ask Kim Maddox some questions, and I think they might be sharing a Zoom.
We
Yeah,
are.
she was there, so we'll put the camera on Miss Maddox then, and
Okay, hi.
okay. Ma'am, what we're gonna do is take some testimony from you, so if you would raise your right hand, we'll have you sworn in, then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Todd.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Maddox, how do you know the parties in this case?
Michael is my son and Ashley's his wife.
And how long have you known Miss Maddox?
Approximately 14 years.
And how much interaction do you have with the parties and the children?
I see Michael on a daily basis. The children I probably see roughly a few times a week. And I don't see Ashley. We don't have any contact.
How is the interaction between Mr. Maddox, or have you witnessed a lot of interaction between Mr. Maddox and the children?
Yes,
How is that interaction?
it's good.
What does he
Great.
normally do with the kids?
Well, they talk and play games, Uno or Yahtzee, or go to the movies, talk, football.
Did the children go to him for care and guidance?
Yeah, they
Do you have
do.
any examples of this?
Yes, I do. As my husband mentioned, they usually, when they get here, they start talking, and I've heard for instance, my granddaughter once was telling him about a problem that she was having with some kid at school, and he was giving her advice on how she might handle that. So things like that.
Is that a one-time thing, or is that relatively consistent that things like that happen?
No, actually, I've heard numerous. I think my grandson had something similar to that. Not all that long ago.
And do the children appear to be excited when they see Mr. Maddox?
Yes, they do.
Without telling me what they say, how do they show this?
They always look really happy when they see him. They're always smiling, and first thing they do is give him a big hug and tell him that they love him.
And do you know any?
Did she just snort in incredulity? Is that what happened there? Also, I want to point something out. You know how everyone always talks about Mexican Coke being the best? Canadian Coke is just as good because it's also made with real sugar. It's not made with corn syrup. And I just want to point that out. That's not that we're superior, but the Coca-Cola is indeed superior. And I know it's glass bottles and cane sugar, but real sugar versus the corn syrup, I think, is the biggest difference. Oh, Courtney. As long as it's not pink.
Thing about Miss Maddox's income or living stability?
To my knowledge, she doesn't have an income. As far as her living stability, she lives in a house that we own, and she has been evicted in district court. She's appealing that, but I don't know. It's moving along.
And to the best of your knowledge, does your son, Michael, does he have consistent income?
Yes, he does.
And does he have a consistent place to live?
He does.
And do you have any concerns about his mental health or stability?
No, I don't.
Is there anything else you believe would be important for the court to know today?
Not that I can think of the top of my head.
All right, nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Maddox.
Thank you.
Ms. I guess it's clarify that. Ashley Maddox, you have opportunity to question Ms. Maddox if you wish to do so. Do you have any questions?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so is Michael's stable home in your home?
Currently it is, yes.
Okay, and the eviction for us is so he can move in. Me and my kids getting evicted so he can move in here? Because the home is in a family trust.
Can you repeat what the question
Are
was?
you evicting my children and I, since the home is in a family trust and you did it after he moved out and said he was divorcing me? Are you letting him move in here? Will this be his stable home?
Yes, it probably will.
Okay, so me and my
But
kids
I,
are getting evicted, so
it's my home, so I don't,
it says that the children are living in both places. Like, how much have they been there?
when they come to visit him, they stay here.
Yes, when did it start? And how long do they come to visit?
When did it start?
Mhm.
I don't have a date as to when they started coming. You guys have been split up for a while.
Mine,
Ma'am,
yes.
this is your opportunity to ask questions, not testify, and not make comments.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Not make comments.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm sorry. So when you say the kids are happy when they come and see him, they spend time with him, they come home crying to me, is that something that they do there?
I have not seen them cry anytime recently. In the very beginning, I saw Nadia cry, and it felt like the impression that I got was that she was being told at home not to talk about certain things. That's the impression that she gave me when she cried, but that's been quite some time ago, actually.
Okay. How long have you and your husband been putting assets into your name for me and your son?
Objection, Your Honor.
I
Relevance.
Okay, Miss Ashley, what's the relevance of this?
Because when you go to a divorce, you list assets. But since they're underneath his parents' name, how is anybody going to know?
Okay, but you said stuff that they're putting in. Maybe you need to clarify and lay a foundation.
Okay.
I mean, I think that that's something you would normally handle in discovery, right? Right? And then this, I don't know. As usual, I fucking love it when people admit to defrauding the government or defrauding people. Like, oh, well, we've always done this. It's like,
Could you tell me what all you have put into your name for us in asset wise that we have paid for?
Objection, Your Honor, I apologize, just briefly. The scheduling order required Ms. Maddox to submit a property chart, and that was never done. And so it's my understanding in the scheduling order that our property chart would be followed. And I believe this line of questioning is trying to get to that issue.
Well, I understand that, Mr. Todd, but obviously if there's some fraud going on, et cetera, the court would entertain some testimony about that. Because obviously if somebody wouldn't disclose that in a property chart in any basis. So I'll let her go into that if there's again, there's foundation and substance for it.
Your Honor, could I explain to you real quick that?
No, you can't explain. You can ask questions, and you can, if you would, re-ask the question because there's been some.
Okay. How many belongings and bills have you put underneath your name that me and your son, as husband and wife, have paid with our money through you guys?
I haven't put anything in your name.
No, in your name.
And the things that are in my name are my property, such as the house that you live in, which was my mother's home, which was left to me and is now in my trust.
I'm talking about the things that were in your guys' name that were ours, that we paid for, such as the Buick at first, the old Ford that I just
Okay.
owned.
Actually, let's address one thing at a time, because if we get a laundry list, it's going to be harder to keep track of, and you can get into specifics as it relates to that too.
Oh, okay, sorry, Your Honor.
So ask as to specific items.
Okay. Was my Mercury Sable that your son paid $6,000 cash for not put in your husband's name when he bought it for me?
The Mercury Sable. Oh, the blue car, that one. My husband bought that and put it in his name because neither of you had a driver's license. And I paid for both of you to get a driver's license. And yes, I did.
I've had my license, I'm sorry. It was never
Well, I
taken
paid
from
your
me.
fine.
Actually, hold on. This isn't your time to comment. It's your time to ask questions. So don't argue with the witness. Ask her questions.
Okay, so are all the household bills for 210 East Chestnut Street and 210.5 East Chestnut Street, the apartment out back, not paid by your son's money?
No, they're in my name.
Are they in your name being paid for by your son, which he told me for all these years?
Not all these years, no. Recently, he has been paying them, but no, I paid and have.
Is there not money transfers from his bank account to your bank account to pay bills for us? Okay,
No,
no,
no. I don't transfer money to him.
No, you do not. Does he transfer money to you guys to pay for the things that we have had and where we live?
No,
Since
he does not
2010?
transfer money to me. I am not aware of any money that he has transferred to me. I can't even think of one time, but maybe there has been some in his lifetime, but I do not recall any time. And I have nothing in my statements that would show that.
Your son and I never had to go to the banks in Jackson and Parma to put money into his account so he could transfer it to you to pay any bills or
Objection,
any
Your Honor.
car loans.
I believe this has been asked and answered.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, she has asked and answered that, so move on.
Okay, Your Honor, but I'm saying I know for a fact that we have done this, so she's sitting
Okay.
there blatantly lying.
Ashley, again, it's not your time to comment. You can testify when it's your turn to testify, but now it's your turn to ask questions.
Okay. How often did you see the kids before Michael moved into your house in December 2022?
Probably about, I don't know, maybe every few weeks when you would ask me to babysit. Or not necessarily you directly, when he would. Frequently, you guys would want time alone, or you would go somewhere. And we would keep the kids.
So we would have you watch them while your son took me on vacations.
That, or you
That's
might
what
have
we
just
would do
wanted a
then.
night alone. We've done that frequently too.
When they were toddlers or when they were more grown?
All through their entire life.
How much have you seen the kids since 2017 when the restaurant shut down
Objection, Your
and
Honor.
you
I
tried to
believe
put your hands on me?
this has been answered, I believe.
Well, I'll let her go into it a little bit because she's got some specific dates, so.
I don't have specific dates that I've seen them. I know when I would be asked to keep the kids, which was frequently, we rarely said no. So
After the 2017 incident at your home where you put your hands on me, how often did I let you see the kids?
I have always seen the kids, and I didn't put my hands on you.
There's no messages from me and you back and forth talking about it?
Talking about what? Me putting my hand on you? I never put my hands on you.
Yeah.
You came to my home.
After you said, let's talk about it in person because you sound like you're being mean.
I asked you if you were yelling at me. And the next thing you know, you
How much
showed
money
up
did
in
you
my
owe your
bathroom
son?
where I was
How
standing
much
in
Oh,
my
money
hold
did
on,
you
hold on,
owe
hold
your
on, one person at a time talking. So Ashley, ask your question and Ms. Maddox, then you can answer.
Okay,
how much money after the restaurant closed did you owe me and your son as husband and wife for
Objection,
the restaurant shutting down?
time frame, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Todd.
October
Oh,
2017.
hold on, ma'am. Actually, Mr. Todd has an objection, so if he says I object, you have to stop talking so he can voice the objection. Go ahead. Mr. Todd?
Objection, time frame.
Okay.
When the restaurant closed in October of 2017, when the incident between me and you happened, how much money did you owe your son and me as husband and wife for the restaurant.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance, that's 7 years ago.
Okay, Ms. Maddox, or Ashley Maddox, how is that relevant now? If it occurred 7 years ago?
Of all like the assets being hidden and whatnot, transferred into other people's names, it really shows that they didn't have the money to do that. Me and their son did.
Okay. Well, in this
Anyway.
particular case, she had already testified to you that there were no transfers of any money that belonged to the two of you in this case. And again, I do believe that something that occurred 7 years ago is too attenuated to be relevant to this point. And likewise, under the case scheduling order, you had an opportunity and an obligation to file a property division chart if there was some dispute as to monies or something of that nature, which you didn't do. So the court is going to sustain the objection and state that you can't go into that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, so Kim, I've never worked since I got with your son and moved down here.
You're asking me if you've ever worked?
Yes, I'm asking you questions.
Not to my yeah, well, down to the taco house for a little bit, but that didn't last very long.
How many times and for how many years did I come down there crying to you because your son wouldn't let me work or go to school?
0.
It's okay. Okay. I don't have any more questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Todd, any redirect?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox.
Ms. Maddox, that concludes your testimony. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Okay, so we can disconnect?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Todd,
The
next
handled
witness.
that testimony
I'd
very
like to
well.
call Mr. Maddox, Michael Maddox.
Okay. Mr. Maddox, have you raise your right hand, be sworn in, then we'll proceed.
Yeah. Make sure you unmute your device first, please.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can proceed, Mr. Todd.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Maddox, you had an opportunity to hear some of the questioning that occurred between Ashley Maddox and your mother, correct?
Yes, I did.
And there was concern about the Buick not being put in somebody's proper name. Is that accurate?
I don't know what she's referring to.
Okay, but is that Buick that is put within the property chart?
It is.
So that asset is accounted for. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, that's accurate.
Moving forward, do you love your children?
Oh, certainly.
Do you believe they love you?
Definitely.
Without telling me what they say, how do they show this?
Well, as soon as I see them, they always come and give me a hug. Whenever I'm moving around the house, they always want to be there right with me, spending time with me, interacting. Always got a smile on their face when they see me.
And what do you do that shows them you love them?
Oh, I try to be as involved as possible. So I ask them how their day has been, anything that's new that's going on in their life, things such as that. And then I, of course, try to spend time with them. You know, we play, as was mentioned prior, cards such as Uno, watch football games together, go to the movies, get ice cream, things such as that.
And did the children come to you for care and guidance?
They do.
Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, definitely. As was mentioned previously, my daughter came up quite recently. She was being bullied by a child at school. She just kind of needed some advice on how she might handle that. So I tried to give her some guidance on that. My son's into working out and weightlifting specifically. He's always asking me advice and guidance on different exercises he can do to work different muscle groups and how to properly do them and such like that.
What's your routine like when you have the children?
As far as what do we do, or
I mean, who puts them to bed, who makes sure they have food, who makes sure they get up, things like that.
oh, I do. So
And I think you might have already answered this to a certain extent, but what special activities do you guys do together?
yeah, like I mentioned, we like to watch football games together, just talk and communicate, watch TV, of course, play different games, go see a movie, stuff like that.
What are the kids' favorite foods?
Carlos likes burgers and pizza, but he is trying to eat a little healthier, so he's been eating a lot of chicken breast and whatnot lately. Nadia likes tacos. She's got a lot bigger of a palate than he does. She likes lasagna.
Do you believe the children also love Miss Maddox?
I do.
Do you believe the children have a strong bond with both of you?
Yes, I do.
And what has parenting time been like since you two separated?
It's relatively equal, somewhat sporadic though. Sometimes I go home on a Wednesday, sometimes on a Sunday.
Of all the court faces I didn't think I would need to mimic today, roll on G. That was one of them. That's so bad. Okay, it's in the chin, but it's also up here. She's less forehead driven, more jowl driven, I will say. I'm more of a forehead speaker. You see how her lip comes down like that? So fucking nuts. Here's some advice, free. This is not legal advice. This is just life advice, and it's free. Don't do that in court. Don't make any faces. In fact, I've said before, if I was to be in court, I would wear a mask. Nothing to do with anything political, just to hide half my fucking face because I get in trouble all the time for making faces. If I was a lawyer, I would have all my clients wearing masks for the most part, as much as possible. I mean, this should tell you why. Right here. Like, seriously, she should have a lawyer and she should have not made this face. It is like a meme though. Oh my god. Oh. I just can't believe it. I thought I was gonna have to back it up to see this face again. She made it 10 seconds ago, but she's doing it again. Do we think the judge is seeing this? She made the face after Dad said that one of the kids had a broad palate, and then she also made this face after, what did he just say? Let's go back 20 seconds. Oh, and Blue Strat, dude, I'll be honest, I joke about it, but in reality, this judge is impeccably attentive. He pays attention constantly. We joke that he's playing Wordle. He's not. He is only and he'll review the entire case to minutia. So I just want to point that out. Like, we joke about it, but I just don't know if he's, like, I know he's always listening to things. I'm not sure, but I think I can see 3 screens there on his desk, so I'm pretty sure he's watching a close-up, even though the camera seems to be far away in the room. I'm banking on the fact that the screens aren't that far away, because it would be difficult to see the detail there. Mike. Oh, God. Anyways, let's continue, shall we? Oh, Courtney got it right. It was the taco comment. Yeah. Taco comment. I went back
Do you
20
believe
seconds. And look what happened. Look at where she is. Like, I'm going back 30 seconds. Look at that face. Even that face. Ma'am, she can't do this. Like, nobody's instructed her on this, and I guess she thinks she's in some, like, chat fest or whatever. But you can't act like this, Ashley. It's cringy. It's absolutely cringy. Cringy.
She likes lasagna.
Do you believe the children also love Miss Maddox?
I do.
Do you believe the children have a strong bond with both of you?
Yes, I do.
And what has parenting time been like since you two separated?
It's relatively equal, somewhat sporadic though. Sometimes I go home on a Wednesday, sometimes on a Sunday, sometimes on a Tuesday. It just depends.
So you guys didn't necessarily have a set schedule that you used?
No, we don't have a set schedule.
Have there been instances when Miss Maddox, you thought Miss Maddox was going to pick up the children and she didn't?
Yes, multiple.
And what happened there?
A lot of the times the children can't get a hold of her. She didn't answer the phone. Sometimes she would call them back the next day, say, "Hey, I'm going to get you on Tuesday instead or Wednesday instead."
And how often did that happen? Was it, just once in a while?
It's occurred multiple times. I don't know an exact number off the top of my head, but it's not a one-time thing.
And are we talking about like 15 or 20 minutes late, or are we talking about?
No, well, yeah, she has been frequently half hour, hour and a half late, but I'm talking about, not picking them up on one day and then picking them up on another day. So I guess a combination of both to better answer the question.
Mr. Maddox, who watches the children when you can't?
And when I can't, my parents are both there available to watch them.
And are you able to stay at home if needed for the children?
Yes, I am. I earn sick leave. I have a bank of that as well as annual leave, and I also work from home. A combination of inspections in the field, but the rest is working at home as well. So,
Have the children ever called home?
Ma'am. Okay, now I'm convinced that she maybe does. She's confused about this being OnlyFans. Because, is this an ass shot? God, why can't. Watch, she's gonna bend it and pop it. Bend and pop. No, what is that? The bend and snap from Legally Blonde? Seriously, watch this. Now we see her good side, Bill. She does have a nice booty. But I mean, again, angles. She's like, this always works. Every time I show my ass, I usually get what I want. Why? Now, different. Why now different, Paisley? Speak English. Pass, you're so sweet. 11 months, oh my god. Amazing, thank you. Okay, seriously, look at it. I think it gets worse. She's gonna bend and snap even further.
Sick to reach you?
Wait, I'm gonna slow it down. Now, I wish I was like Mikey and I had that music that we could play. The porn sex music. I don't have any of that. But let's watch it in slow-mo and pretend.
Yes, frequently.
It's literally no good without the fucking
And
music. I can't even remember how it goes because my mind doesn't work like that. Anyways, she's gonna do it again. Just wait. You'll see.
My father's went and picked him up from school and brought him down to our house multiple times.
And to the best of your knowledge, have they called home and not been able to reach Miss Maddox?
Yes, that's what I've been told multiple times.
And what's happened in those situations?
I'm not sure why they weren't able to reach her, but I knew they needed picked up, so myself and of course their grandparents as well were always there for them.
How do you normally discipline the children?
Ground them, so they like to play PlayStation and stuff, especially my son. You're not going to play the PlayStation today, or things such as that nature.
And who generally facilitates, or are the children in any extracurricular activities like sports and things like that?
Yes, my son is in wrestling, and he actually just made the basketball team for the first year yesterday. And he's also in orchestra.
And who pays for the equipment for those sports?
The orchestra, they're allowed to use the school's instruments, but as far as wrestling, I purchase the equipment that the school doesn't provide. So headgear, wrestling shoes, things such as that nature.
Mr. Maddox, are you currently working?
Yes, I work for the state of Michigan.
And how much do you make per pay period?
Per pay period?
Or how much do you make? Do you know?
I believe it's after taxes, roughly $1,700 every 2 weeks, roughly.
And is that 80 hours a week?
40 hours a week, 80 hours of pay period every 2 weeks.
And do you know your hourly rate?
Not off the top of my head, I know.
In reviewing your pay stubs, it is 3165 sound accurate?
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Excuse me, Mr. Todd, I didn't catch the question. Are you asking the gross? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and I'll clarify. Mr. Maddox, to the best of your knowledge, is your hourly rate 3165 gross?
Yep, that sounds accurate. That's what was on my pay stub.
And do you have healthcare coverage costs of approximately 178 per pay period?
Yes, that also sounds accurate.
And does that cover just you or just the children or everybody?
Everybody.
And do you know how much it would cost if it was just you?
Not off the top of my head, but it is a good amount cheaper. Maybe $70, $75 cheaper if I had to take a guess, but I don't have an exact figure.
In the statement you provided to me, I think an individual plan would be approximately $66. Does that sound accurate?
That does.
And do you get any overtime?
No, we don't work overtime in the department I work in.
And so you're able to financially provide for the children?
Yes, certainly. I currently do.
Okay. And is this income stable?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you know if Miss Maddox is currently working? Ashley Maddox?
I don't believe she is.
Is she capable of working?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Does she choose not to work?
Yes.
Does she get disability income or anything like that?
Oh no.
Okay. Why isn't she working?
She chooses not to work.
Okay. Who pays for the children's clothing?
I do.
Who pays for the children's food and other needs?
I do.
Are you involved with the children's doctor's appointments?
I have been in the past. We both have been. She has more frequently, but we both have.
And who normally makes the appointments?
Ashley generally does.
Okay. And then do you both attend them, or is it just kind of who has them, or?
We both have attended them together. She'll go on them by herself as well. As I said, she's not working, so versus taking time off sometimes, she'll just go ahead and do it.
And have there been any issues recently with the children not attending scheduled appointments?
Yes, with their dentist. I received notice from their dentist that actually had scheduled appointments for both children, Nadia and Carlos, as well as herself and my stepdaughter, and none of the appointments were made. There were no call, no show. There were actually two for Ashley herself.
Mr. Maddox, how long have you lived in the current household where you are?
Well, I moved back here after we separated, so around July of last year, but I mean, it's my childhood home, so
Okay.
I grew up here.
And what's your plan for when this divorce is completed?
So once it's completed, I'm gonna probably want to seek a place of my own, if that makes sense. So I don't want to stay here forever. And yeah, if I may move down to the house once Ashley moves out of it.
And Mr. Maddox, do you know where Ashley Maddox is living right now?
Yeah, she lives at, as stated earlier, a home that's owned by my parents. But she is being evicted out of that home. She lost the first eviction, and she filed an appeal. So it's just going through the appeals process. Been going through that process for approximately a month or so now, I'd say.
Your Honor, I'm going to go ahead and put a proposed, or if I could use a share screen, I have a proposed.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. I don't know the words. Is that the right words? I'm just waiting so I can put this up on the fucking screen. Because YouTube Daddy, he don't like you all seeing what you seen. Just saying. Hi, Miss Carrie.
Proposed exhibit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Try it again, Wes, you should be able to.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Maddox, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How did I get this?
I provided it to you.
And what does this exhibit purport to be?
That is the eviction.
And have I modified, changed, or redacted this in any way?
No,
And prior to receiving this, did you modify, change, or redact this in any way?
no, I didn't.
Is this an accurate copy of the landlord-tenant judgment?
Yes, it is.
And why do you believe that this is relevant to the court?
Well, I believe it shows that stability, a lack of stability. She's gonna have to move out, and to my knowledge, she has no plan for where she's going to move.
Your Honor, I would move to admit proposed exhibit 3.
okay, I couldn't read the top. What is that, Mr. Todd? What's it?
Yep, the landlord-tenant judgment, landlord-tenant
Okay,
eviction paperwork, basically.
I wasn't sure if it was the judgment or something else. Okay, Ms. Maddox, do you have any response to the offer of plaintiff's exhibit 1?
No, other than I have told them there is a home coming in the middle of next week or next month.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want you to respond to the exhibit, not to give testimony.
Okay. Yep.
Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
court will admit plaintiff's exhibit 1, there being no objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So Carol, it's a good question. Why do I block that out when it's already been put on YouTube? It's already been shown live. In my experience, and what I try and do is not fuck things up as often as possible. It's a hard ask for Paisley. And so what I've learned is that most of the claims that come against the channel I can win. I mean, what we do here, we're allowed to do this. This is all done in good faith and under fair use copyright stuff. But something that I've found that YouTube leans heavily towards is if you show personal data, they don't like that. And I've lost time and time again whole videos because of that. And so instead of dealing with that now, I've just done this. We used to do this like Larry Beaver redaction thing. I mean, we used to watch stuff that got a lot more documents in it. People have gotten a bit better. And it's a great question. It's just, and I sometimes forget that there's like new people here, or I don't always explain it. I used to fucking bitch about it a lot. And again, yeah, YouTube daddy, my fickle master, is unique, let's say, in how they go through things. So the more videos that I have that are able to be monetized, the better it is for me. So that's just the reality. Anyways, here we go. Back to her faces. But it was eviction paperwork. She was evicted. It was a judgment. I will say, I'm gonna say that's pretty fucking savage to not even be finished with your divorce yet and then have your parents evict your ex-wife and your children. Like, I just find that a little bit, I mean, it's their house. They're allowed to do it. But I wouldn't forget that.
Mhm.
Mr. Maddox, what is the approximate
There
size
was
of
no
the house you're
monetary
residing?
judgment.
Currently,
That there was no monetary judgment, Miss Carrie. They didn't ask for any money. They just wanted possession so that he can move in with the children. So, but no monetary judgment against her, which, okay, there's nice. Like, I guess if we're weighing the things, tit for tat, tits for tat, you know, no tats here.
residing in.
Currently, I'm not sure on the exact size, but the entire upper level is where I live. It has multiple bedrooms, has its own bathroom, its own entrance for that matter.
So do the children have their own space where you're currently residing?
They do.
And who is in your extended family unit?
It would be myself, my children, well, that'd be my immediate. So my extended would be my father and mother, and my brother, but he lives in Florida, so we don't get to see him as frequently.
And how often do the children see your extended family? I guess at this point, pretty often.
Yeah.
And do they have a good relationship with these people?
Oh yeah, they love seeing him. As mentioned earlier, Carlos, my dad is his weightlifting trainer, so he picks him up from school a lot of days and takes him to the gym and trains him in weightlifting. Definitely.
And prior to your separation to Miss Maddox, did they still have a good relationship with your extended family?
Yeah, they did. And as mentioned earlier, they'd go there when we wanted some alone time or if we were out of town or anything. They'd come with me sometimes when I go down to visit.
Mr. Maddox, who is DeGuan Taylor? DeGuan Taylor?
Oh, Mr. Taylor is Ashley's boyfriend.
And to the best of your knowledge, has he been around children?
Yes, I seen him driving the Explorer that's in both of our names one day when she actually came to pick up the children. So she was in the passenger seat and he was driving.
And why is this relevant?
Well, Mr. Taylor was released from prison in 2023. Lead great bodily harm, firearms charges.
And Is it your desire to have him not around the children?
Yes.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any mental or physical health issues?
No, I have not.
To the best of your knowledge, has Miss Maddox ever been diagnosed with any mental or physical health issues?
No.
Yes, you have been diagnosed with health issues.
Maddox, are you willing and able to cooperate with Miss Maddox regarding parenting time?
Yes, certainly.
And have you been able to do that up to this point?
Yes.
Are you able to attend extracurricular activities for the children?
Yes, I am. I always go to those anyway already. Carlos wrestling meets, orchestra, concerts.
And are you able to help the children with schoolwork as necessary?
Yes, I am, and I've done that in the past as well as their mother has as well.
And how are the children currently doing in school?
They're doing good. Definitely hit the books. They want to do good in school so they can get good careers, which makes me proud.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like the court to know in terms of parenting time or custody?
Just that I'm just looking for equal time with my children. They need their dad too.
Your Honor, I'd like to go ahead and well, I guess just for clarification, Your Honor, I do have some proposed property exhibits. I'm happy to go through those with my client. Or if the court's just inclined to follow our property chart, I don't need to waste the court's time. Either way, it's fine.
Well, Mr. Todd, as you had alluded to previously, the case scheduling order did state that if a party, in fact, fails to provide a property division chart, then the court will accept the other property division chart as representative of the property and its values. So if you are simply going to offer something to reiterate the values in the property chart, the court doesn't need that because I have your property chart. It was properly filed.
Okay, yes, and that's exactly what I was going to do, Your Honor. And so I guess at this point, I don't have
I
any
didn't know
further
what was
questions.
bad. If that's what you need to say.
Okay.
You cannot stick.
Ms. Maddox,
Yes, Your Honor.
your opportunity to question the plaintiff if you have any examination.
Objection, I apologize, Your Honor. It appears there might be somebody else in the room with Ms. Maddox. I would respectfully request anybody else be sequestered.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, if there's anybody else in the room, you have to ask them to leave. They cannot be in there.
Kids, could you please go upstairs? Thank you. They were in the other room, but yes, they're children. They're allowed. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, we don't want them to hear what's going on in any event. It's probably not appropriate that they listen into the proceedings. It's your chance to cross-examine the plaintiff.
Okay. When did you start taking the children every other weekend?
When I moved out of the home, when we separated, so I guess that'd be approximately July, to the best of my recollection of last year, 2023.
So you were not gone training for the state of Michigan for 6 months and almost had no contact with them?
No, I had plenty of contact with them, and while I was training, I wasn't just gone all the time for training. A lot of the training took place in Lansing, where I drove back and forth every day, which you're aware of.
Yes. So before I started bringing them to you after school on the weekends on Fridays when you got out an hour earlier and popping them up on you, did you take them before that?
I've always taken my kids.
How many holidays have you spent with them
I don't have
since December 2022?
I don't have an exact number. with them last Christmas, Father's Day. I don't write down every holiday that I'm with them.
And you said I've been 30 minutes late, 15 minutes late. We have a set time?
Well, it's when you tell the children that you'll be there at a certain time, and then you are late.
So I have ignored my kids' calls and not answered them,
Correct.
or they didn't have school and you did not have work, so you kept the kids.
Is that a question or a statement?
I asked you a question.
Can you rephrase the question, please?
So you're saying I ignore the kids when you have them? When you say it's been a Monday or a Tuesday when I pick them up? Or is it you didn't work on the Monday and they didn't have school, so you kept your kids another day?
Well, I
Because
didn't
it's been
say, I
two
didn't say,
holidays.
would you like me to answer the question or were you still speaking? To answer your question, I didn't say what you just said. What I said is there has been multiple instances where the kids were going to go home and have tried to reach you and have been unable to reach you, sometimes for a full day.
So the timing isn't between 8 in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning, like the text I have?
I don't understand what you mean by the timing.
The timing that they have not been able to reach me has not been on a Sunday morning between 8 and 10 a.m. when they've been wanting to come home and been calling me so much.
No, I'm referring
That's
actually to
not
more
the
things in the
timing.
evening. I'm actually referring when it'd be afternoon, evening, even later into the night.
My kids come home on Sundays in the evenings.
They come home at different days, sometimes on a Wednesday, sometimes on a Sunday, sometimes on a Tuesday.
When have they come home on a Wednesday?
I didn't write down the exact date.
But you had to work though, right? So you would not have kept the kids.
Well, I do work on Wednesdays, if that's your question, but I have no problem keeping my kids, to elaborate.
You're okay with having them jointly now? And now that we have court, but before when I asked you, it was a no because you had to work. Why is it that you feel okay with it now, but not since the almost 2 years that you've been gone?
I don't have any knowledge referring to what you're speaking about.
When I have asked you to take them week on, week off, and you said, no, I work during the weeks, and I told you you work from home, you said it doesn't matter, I work. Why were you not willing to do it then, but you are willing to do it now?
The conversation that you're speaking of never occurred.
We don't have text messages about it?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
That's a
Well,
new question.
I'll let her ask the question. Go ahead.
No,
We don't have text messages. Your son does not have text messages with you about holidays because you aren't spending any with them?
my son has lots of text messages from me, not the ones you're referring to, though.
Your son was not right by me when we just asked the last holiday, and you said, I will pick you up every other weekend just like usual. And they
I
said,
don't know
are
what you're referring to.
you saying that you're not having us any holidays since you have not, since you left?
Objection, Your Honor. Can I have some clarification and just keep the questions a little bit more
Yeah,
defined?
probably give us some parameters on the dates, ma'am, so we know when you're talking about.
The last holiday that we had.
Okay,
What was that holiday?
clarify the last holiday, because I don't know, was he supposed to have Labor Day or the 4th of July or what holiday? So clarify what holidays you're talking about.
We don't have a parenting schedule.
Okay.
I
Well,
am being very
okay.
nice giving them to him and he never takes them on the holidays.
Okay, clarify the dates we're talking about.
Okay, so the last holiday in September, was it? Was it Memorial Day or no, that's in May?
The holiday in September is Labor Day, Memorial Day
Labor
is
Day.
in
Okay,
May.
so Labor Day, your son never texted you and said, Dad, are you getting us this weekend for the holiday since mom had us the last one?
I don't recall that.
You did not text your son back. I will get you every other weekend like usual.
No, I don't recall that.
And he did not text you back. Is
Objection,
it
Your
safe
Honor.
to say
Asked and
it's
answered.
Okay, sustained. You can't just keep asking the question. He's answered the question. Please move on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay? Yes. You said the kids live equally with both of us?
I said we have relatively equal time.
So you didn't just start taking the kids every other weekend at the beginning of 2023?
No,
When you can't watch the kids, you said that your parents do. What would stop you from watching the kids when you only have them on the weekends after you are out of work?
I don't only
Till
have them on the
Sunday?
weekends, and if I'm unavailable, yes, my parents are always willing to help out.
Okay, so could I get an answer to the equal time question that I had asked? Why were you not willing to do it then, but you are now that we're in court?
I already answered that question.
Yes, Your Honor, I would object to that question as I believe it has been asked 2 or 3 times already.
Sustained, he did answer the question.
When you were saying you bought everything for the kids, for the wrestling, for the school stuff, the school clothes and everything, who's done that since 2010?
Who has purchased the kids' things?
Yes.
You know, I do have a question though, because very often during these divorce proceedings, we see the judges order the status quo be maintained. I'm not clear on how thinly veiled it will come across that his parents are evicting her, but by proxy that's him. I mean, this is their divorce trial. There's nothing finalized yet. It strikes me a little bit funny. Again, she should have a lawyer. Definitely get a lawyer in these cases, because you need legal advice. Obviously he paid for everything, so she probably should have, I mean, I don't know. Also, they said that the property had an apartment at the back too.
It'd be me because you're unemployed.
How often did you let me work?
I don't know how I would stop you from working. You're a grown adult.
How many times did you tell me that the pay from a job that I could receive because I did not go to school would not match up to the food stamps we received?
I never said anything similar to that.
Oh, okay. Um, you know about my health issues,
I've never seen any health diagnosis pertaining to you.
but you were my husband since 2014.
Exactly.
You had to take care of me.
No,
I was not prescribed medication.
not that I'm aware of.
I did not go see doctors.
You may have went to the doctors. Lots of people go to the doctors.
I don't have A little disorder called POTS.
Not that I'm aware of. I've never seen a medical diagnosis stating it.
Isn't that why you had bought me the tester for my glucose? Because that has a lot to do with the blood pressure disorder and whatnot. Because I couldn't buy it. I don't have a job.
I purchased it for you because you asked if it would have been prescribed by a doctor, then my insurance would have covered it.
We had Medicaid, did we not?
I don't recall the time period.
Okay. So I've never been tested. I don't have anxiety. I don't have anything wrong with my esophagus. With my anxiety, I don't have that disease in my throat that you took me to go get a biopsy to.
I believe I answered this question. I've never seen a medical diagnosis stating that you have anything, nor have I ever been verbally told by a medical care professional of any diagnosis.
How many doctor's appointments did you go to with me since 2010, since I moved down here with you?
I don't recall.
How many baby doctors have you gone to?
It's a long time ago, but I have been. I can tell you that. I didn't document it, so I don't have an exact number right here.
Were you not the one who drove me to the doctors when I had to go get tests done? Because I do not have any family down here or anybody else to do it.
Objection, Your Honor. I believe he's answered these questions.
Well,
He said he hasn't seen
hold on,
papers.
ma'am, hold on. I don't think that he's answered this specific question about driving her to appointments, so I'll allow it. Go ahead, you can answer it.
Please repeat the question.
You did not take me to the hospital to have my biopsy done on my throat because they thought that I had esophageal cancer.
Objection, Your Honor. May I have a time frame on that?
Excuse me, Mr. Todd, I did,
May I have a time frame for that?
okay. If you could set a time frame, ma'am.
Okay.
So I actually know quite a few YouTubers that have POTS. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, but so I've watched a number of shorts about it. I went on a little like thingamajigger about it, and it is a very serious disorder, but I want to point out, obviously it doesn't affect everybody in the same way at the same time, but I would also say that she has been moving around pretty epically okay for, gosh, we're going on an hour here. And I mean, remember she did that bend and snap? Just to keep in mind, right? We've had people, in court claim different disabilities and different issues, and sometimes disabilities aren't what they seem on the surface, so it's not fair to assume, but we call out shit all over the place here, so this is just that. I think that Mr. Todd is handling this pretty well, and so is Michael over here. Is that his name? Michael? Anyways. But he's like done with this shit. I feel terrible for the children. It causes people, I think POTS can cause people to like pass out quite frequently. And like compression socks can help.
Okay,
Approximate, it doesn't have to be the particular day, but
okay, so it was probably the beginning of 2022 or the end of 2021.
I may have driven you to a doctor's appointment. I don't recall taking you to one for a biopsy.
So you don't know who drove me home?
I said I may have taken you to a doctor's appointment in the past. I don't recall taking you to one for a biopsy. I believe I've answered your question.
I have doctor's appointments at the hospitals.
Objection, Your Honor. I just don't see where we're going with this.
Yeah, it's not a question, ma'am. I ask a question.
So you didn't pay the medical bills for all of this that I have for Oak Lawn? You did not pay those?
I haven't received a medical bill from Oaklawn in quite some time. I would have paid anyone that I received. I don't recall what you're referring to, as I've already stated.
I did not send you screenshots of the medical bills that we have now in collections, your kids and I, and gave you
Certainly
the
not.
account numbers.
Certainly not.
How many school functions have you been to?
Multiple. I just said that I go to a lot of Carlos's wrestling meets. I go to his orchestra concerts. This has already been answered.
How many orchestra concerts have you gone to?
Multiple.
How many wrestling meets did you go to last school year in 2023 to 2024?
I don't have an exact number, but quite a lot, both home and away games. And as far just to touch back on the orchestra concert, yeah, I remember taking the kids without you as well.
You took them when I had COVID? Okay. How many times have you and the kids gone out to the lake, like you say, with your extracurricular activities with them?
Multiple. Couple at least.
It wasn't just Father's Day this year.
No.
How many times have you guys gone to the movies?
Multiple.
It wasn't just two?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I recognize so much of myself in her sometimes. Bitterness is so ugly. Oh, when you let it go, it is incredibly freeing. She is so bitter. It is just consuming her. Literally. It's sad. I just like the faces she makes. I can make these faces. I've been accused of making these faces. I try not to. Again, I told you, I wear masks all the time if I can. Because sometimes it's just difficult. I know what she's saying. Like, she's like, you took them out to the lake once or twice. Right? And, okay, once or twice to the lake. Again, she's just got to let this go and just fucking move on. And that's one of the hardest things to do. And this is exactly why people hire divorce attorneys, because I would bet a lot of people would sound very similar to this if they were the ones asking all the questions, but they're smart enough to hire an attorney to ask those questions, and then the attorney can sound like the jackass in a trained way. And that's just literally why you hire an attorney, because it just sounds 10 times worse coming from her mouth, when a lawyer could probably make a case for her having some spousal support if she's never worked in their entire marriage. If he supported her like that, there is a case there for that, but not forever. But in reality, yeah, like it is not, in my opinion, okay to throw the mother of your children and the children out onto the street with nowhere to go. But that's really what's happened here. Now she is acting and making it so difficult to try and help her. And that's part of what I recognize. Oh, when you just are hard to help.
How many times have you gone grocery shopping for them?
A lot. I used to do the grocery shopping for the first half of our relationship or longer.
You didn't do the grocery shopping because you had a car and I was limited to use it?
You had a car as well.
No, I got a car in 2016 when you had went with your dad to buy it, right?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance, this is 8 years ago.
Yeah, ma'am, what's the relevance of when you got a car?
That's the Mercury I was talking about. That is, he gave his dad the money for to pay for the stuff. That's when I had access to leave the house, but it still was me asking to leave the house. And before then, he had two vehicles, a Buick and a Grand Marquis, and I had to ask for the keys. I had to leave only during school functions and doctors and dentist and eye appointments.
Okay, well, ask a question, please.
Okay, so why did you do the grocery shopping?
Why did I do the grocery shopping? Well, there's no particular reason. I just was the one who did it.
Who did you go grocery shopping with?
Myself, I'm
Objection, Your
sure.
Honor,
You didn't go grocery shopping with your father once a
Objection.
week because he had a
Objection.
Sam's Club membership?
Okay, ma'am, what's the relevance as to who you went shopping with?
I'm trying to get it, like, he's lying and he knows he is. So, I mean,
Well, again, the relevance as to who he went shopping with is not, I guess, in dispute, nor is it
that's why
relevant.
he went grocery shopping.
Ma'am, it's not
So-
relevant. You can ask him, did he go with somebody? Not, and then proceed.
Okay.
Honestly, Mayor, I disagree. I think if she wasn't doing this, if we didn't, if we had an attorney in here that had prepared her, a good attorney will sit down and ask some of these fucking questions that will infuriate the clients. They'll have a bunch of people ask them if they're really good and the person spent a lot of money. But in reality, they will. They'll go through it. They'll try and aggravate you. They should. And it's your job to fucking not react. Even when they ask you questions that are supposed to piss you off. Because she's trying to ask him questions that'll piss him off, but it only pisses her off more. And again, it's difficult because I think what's happening here is that again, she just should have got an attorney down to it. Like, there's almost no path to this going her way or it being fair. It doesn't seem fair. I mean, if it's true, in fact, that he doesn't pay any rent for any of these places that they've lived in and neither of them have paid rent, then it's not really fair to take demerits from her saying, oh, she never worked and never paid rent. Well, nobody had to pay rent. They were blessed. Okay? Lucky as fuck, some might say. I've always had to pay rent when I lived at my house, like after I was an adult. And so, again, it's just an interesting sort of dichotomy, but again, she's just not the person to be bringing these up. She's just not bringing it up properly and introducing the evidence like that she needs to. And it's just, again, we've watched so many of these, like, of course, I, just like to play a lawyer on TV every once in a while.
What do your kids do when they come over to see you?
Question's already been answered.
I have not asked you this question.
Well, he's testified as to what they do when the children are over there, so this would just simply be redundant. to continue to address it.
Okay. Okay, so when your kids are with you and they text me and I ask what they're doing and they always say we're in our rooms playing on our phones
Objection.
with the
Objection.
Oculus,
Saying,
they're
ma'am,
lying?
ma'am, you cannot say what the children say, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's hearsay, so do not go into that.
Okay, are the children not always in the rooms upstairs when
No,
they go over there?
no.
Okay. Why do you not get your kids on holidays?
Objection, Your Honor. I believe we've gone through this.
He
Well-
wants equal time, so
Okay.
I'm wondering why he hasn't, but now he wants to.
Okay, well, I'll allow a little leeway, Mr. Todd, but I think he's answered quite a bit of this, but go ahead and then we'll proceed.
I do want to get my kids on holidays, and I have had them on holidays in the past. And if the court grants so, I look forward to having them on future holidays.
So taking them on your own is not good enough. The court has to grant it.
You're testifying.
Your Honor,
I just asked you a question.
Well, it's not really a question, ma'am, so please move on.
Okay. Where are you gonna live if you want this equal time? Where are my
Sorry.
kids going to live
This
if
has
you live
already
at
been
their
answered.
parents?
This has already been answered in prior testimony.
Well, go ahead, sir, answer.
So you want
Yes, Your Honor.
me and you would like me and my kids, which were named on the eviction notice, all other occupants, to leave the home that we've been living in since 2010, and I've been their primary caregiver since you left this home, so you can move in here, and you are solely one person?
I'm not the owner of the home. I had nothing to do with the eviction. But since you are being evicted, yes, I may move down to that home, which my parents own.
Who's paid the bills here for the last, since 2010?
Who's paid the bills there?
Yes,
I've paid bills.
yes, you have. Who paid for the remodels that have happened to this house? Probably over $60,000. Who paid for those?
I have no knowledge of $60,000 worth of remodels, but what's the relevance?
Did you get new windows in the house?
objection, Your Honor. I don't see how this is relevant.
Okay, ma'am, how's it relevant, any improvements or repairs to the house?
Because this was our home. This was Michael's home until he decided he wanted to divorce me. Now it's all of a sudden their home.
Okay, well, ma'am, if you could present any deeds or anything like that showing that it's deeded to his name or the two of your name, then the court would again entertain that, but you've not produced anything to that extent, so the court will sustain the objection. You'll have to move on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Who do you think paid for her tit job? Also, must have been about 10 years ago. Separately, is this
How many
legal?
assets of ours
hey,
have your parents had in their
ma'am,
name?
Ma'am, you're gonna wait. Ooh, again, bitterness, ugly look. It's just an ugly look. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Oh, is it like parental prenup? Is that like a parental prenup? Like, yeah, we're gonna put this into a trust. I don't know if that has always been the case and you married into that, that's it. But if it's like, I don't know what the rules are on that. I'm sure that's a rich person thing that lawyers have thought about. It sounds something legal, you know? It's not just like a fucking arrangement. It sounds like something that's been thought out. And the whole point, that why I say that is because rich people do that for like tax reasons and stuff, and to make and to I don't know, hide assets from the, you know what I mean? Anyway, allegedly, it's all alleged. It's all alleged. What do I know? I'm fucking Canadian. I don't know. I don't know.
None.
The Buick you drove since 2011 when you got it until you changed it into your name was not driven by you and
That
you
was,
only?
it wasn't my asset until I bought it off of them. And then, yes, the title was transferred into my name. That's how it usually occurs.
It says that it wasn't bought for anything on the paperwork. Is that a lie?
Objection, Your Honor. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either, ma'am. You'll have to re-answer it so we can hear.
In the transfer papers, it said that it was not bought for anything, wasn't paid off. It wasn't your credit cards that paid on that or your money that came from an account sent over to your mother's account to pay for it.
I didn't send any money to my mother's account.
How did you pay the bills here? How'd the money get to them?
The bills go on my credit card that I pay.
The bills that are in your mother's name.
Well, some are in her name, some are in mine.
Isn't it true only the trash is in your name?
I would have to go through the bills. The ADT is in my name as well. There's more
Yes,
than just
because
the trash.
did we not put the ADT in? Did we not have that installed?
Objection, Your Honor. I don't see how any of this is really relevant.
Yeah. Ma'am, how's it relevant as to what bills are in whose name?
Because he has transferred countless amounts of money to pay all of these bills that were in their name because they had not even the funds to take care of two homes like that. It's just like the ADT. Yes, of course you paid that bill. We installed that.
Okay, but how is it relevant as to the possibility of them paying your bills if they're your bills or marital bills?
They did not pay our bills at all.
That's
That's
exactly
what
what
I'm
the
getting
plaintiff
at.
has said, and you keep hitting on the fact that they did pay your bills, that there was money transferred to them to pay
Yes.
your bills.
Because they were all in their names.
Okay, well, ask the question and then move on because it is getting very redundant.
In December of 2012,
Objection,
where the
time frame, Your Honor.
What's the objection, Mr. Todd?
Time frame 2012 is
Yeah. Ma'am, how is it relevant what happened in 2012?
my home was raided by the police.
Okay, again, how is that relevant to what's happening now in 2024 or since the separation in 2023?
I'm figuring because what it was for counts.
Well, unless you can tie it into something and connect it that has an impact upon what the court is deciding in this matter, I'll consider it, but just something randomly happened in 2012.
We were raided for opiates
Honor.
and his
First of all, this is bothering me. It's not 2012. It's 2012. You're adding fucking, I guess, like thousands of years. It's 2012. I don't know who started this. I don't understand why nobody's saying this. Like, how are they writing this in the fucking transcript? 2012. 2012 isn't a thing. That's not a year. Also, ma'am, did you just admit that your house was raided for opiates? Probably not a good idea to bring up. Ma'am?
mother had told
Your
me
Honor.
I should go to the doctors and try to get them from Dr. Davis while I was pregnant.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would renew my objection. This is before the children were even born.
No, it was not.
Well, it's very tenuous at best, so unless you can connect it in some way, the court is gonna sustain the objection, so I'll
Thank
give
you.
you the
Okay.
opportunity if you can, but
Okay, moving on. So, Mr. Taylor, you have an issue with his legal history.
Are you asking a question?
I said, so Mr. Taylor, you have an issue with his legal history, yes or no?
I'd prefer for him not to be around my children.
Does your mother not have a negligent homicide charge?
I'm sorry, what? No,
Does your mother not have a negligent homicide charge?
no, I don't believe so. Negligent homicide, I guess I'm not even really sure what that is, to be honest with you.
Your mother wasn't in a car accident when she was 19 years old and killed
Objection.
somebody that was in her
How-
car?
I'll sustain the objection. I don't know how her having a.
He has an issue
Ma'am,
with,
stop. When I'm making a ruling, you stop talking. I don't see how
Stop.
relevant it is if his mother having something when she was 19 years old is relevant to these proceedings.
he said that
I'm
he had an
sustaining the
issue.
objection. Move on.
Okay. Okay. Did you know Mr. Taylor was driving me that day because I had passed out and had an incident with my pots?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you ask?
Did I ask? No, I didn't ask why he was driving you.
What was your text message to me when I pulled out the driveway?
I don't recall.
You didn't text me saying you and the kids will never get anything else from me. I'm kicking you out of that house.
I don't recall saying anything like that.
And then on that Monday, your parents filed for an eviction. They didn't do that.
I've already stated that I'm not a part of the eviction. It's not my home, and I didn't request the eviction to be initiated.
So the text message of you saying you were going to kick us out has nothing to do with them going and filing the next day.
No, I don't recall
Okay.
your text message, but I'm not a part of the eviction, as I've stated multiple times, to be honest.
Yeah. You've never texted me saying, why would I let you live in my home if I'm divorcing you?
I don't recall ever saying anything like that.
Okay. When did you build the Ford truck that I now drive?
When did I build a Ford truck that you
When
drive?
did you have custom built the Ford truck that I drive?
Well, it was ordered because that's when cars weren't on the lots frequently. So we ordered a Ford Explorer that is both of ours, not just yours.
Who drives the car?
You do currently. I have in the past as well.
You drove it whenever or on snowy days when you worked in Battle Creek?
Yeah, I have driven it on a
Objection.
snowy day and whenever I wanted.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't see how
So
this is
you
relevant.
paid for features on the
Objection.
truck.
Hey, hold on, ma'am. Go ahead, Mr. Todd. What?
I don't see how this is relevant. Who drives what vehicle?
Ma'am, how's it relevant? They do have on the chart that you would receive that vehicle. So are you
Yeah, and I
disputing? Are you
see
dis-
that the
Hold
Kelly
on.
Blue Book value is wrong.
Are you disputing that you'll receive that vehicle?
No, he said he was taking it from me, so I'm
Well,
just trying to figure out, who did you custom build it for?
okay, the chart shows that you would receive that vehicle.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we've been watching her pretty closely for over an hour and a half, Miss K. And I would. She's acted this way the whole time. It's maybe pills. She definitely hasn't done drugs in the last hour and a half. So that actually rules out a couple of drugs that are shorter acting, but that may be, it's not edibles, Paula. Come on. Come the fuck on. No. 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 It's either opiates or she got up and wandered off and we watched her. She's not, I really am pretty fairly sure she didn't inject something surreptitiously. I don't think that she has even drank any water this whole time. And she's not giving me snorting vibes. I will say, I bet a lot of people take benzos before court if they have access to them. That's just my theory. It's all alleged, of course. Alcohol, I mean, she would get worse over time, but so it's possible that it's that or a combo. And she may just be that, Courtney. Like, I get that too. Like, a very dysregulated person. But, I don't know. But, you know, you think, I've never been a downer girl. Well, I mean, I've been a downer in my life, but you know what I mean. It's not methy as much. It is a little bit, but it's just slightly less unhinged. It's just the bitterness cuts through everything. Just like when you're cooking. Bitterness cuts through.
You never took out any of your 401k from Denzo after you left the house?
No, I haven't. I've actually rolled all 401ks are rolled into my current state of Michigan 401k. I have one 401k.
The Denzo one had almost $15,000 in it at the time when it rolled over. How is it only at 13,000 with the vested value?
Objection, Your Honor. I believe that this is in our property chart.
Well, I'll allow it if there's, again,
Okay.
if there's some discrepancy or whatever.
I never took any withdrawals from my Denzo 401k or any other 401k. All 401ks I have were rolled into the one that is current in the state of Michigan. I have not taken one out of that 401k either, and it is documented.
I'm asking how it is less now than it was before it got added.
Well, 401ks work on the stock market, so they go up and they go down, just like any other stock market.
Well, this paperwork that was sent to you did not say that your balance was zero as of last October.
I didn't receive any paperwork. Maybe you did, and I have no knowledge of what you're talking about. I've answered the question. I never took anything out of my 401k, and it's all been transferred into the one I currently have through the state of Michigan.
The IRA that you have, whose name is that in?
That's an inherited IRA, and it's not in your name.
It was inherited. Was that in the will?
That's kind of how inheritances usually work, wills, trust. I don't understand the relevance to the question.
You didn't tell me that it wasn't in the will. It was given to you almost 2 years after he passed away, wasn't it?
I don't know if you understand how things happen when there's a trust and a will, but you don't always get the money. Like, you don't get it like the next day after someone passes away. But once again, it's an inherited IRA and you're not on it.
So it was worded as, how was it worded?
We actually have it documented.
Yes, but financials and things were not hidden from me. I was not a part of them, right?
I don't know what you're referring to, financial stuff now, but then you were asking about the IRA. So is this a different question or what are we referring?
No, the IRA is financial.
It's inherited. It's not your property.
Who inherited it?
Me.
You inherited $400,000?
No, I didn't.
Who inherited the rest of that then?
I don't know what you're referring to. The rest of what?
When you received that IRA, you did not tell me that it was $400,000 to be split amongst you, your brother, your parents, and your mom's brother.
I did not tell you that. And I also can't speak to what other people have inherited. I can only speak to what
I'm asking you if that is what you said to me.
I already just answered it. No, I didn't tell you that.
So you were lying to me then, or you're lying to me now?
I didn't tell you that, and I also don't know the relevance.
The relevance is you hiding things.
I don't hide anything.
Because if you were to get one, wouldn't your parents and everybody else get one?
Relevance?
Yeah, objection, Your Honor.
Relevance is you hiding finances.
Okay.
Once again.
Ma'am, yeah, you haven't produced any documents to show that anything has been hidden. And I've given you some leeway to get into that. And you simply come back to the same thing, that he's hiding stuff, but you don't have any documentation that he's hiding anything. So unless you can produce anything, you need to go into a different line of questioning.
Your Honor, I was waiting until my statement to let it all out. I have never been allowed to know any finances. Everything has always been put into his parents' name.
Ma'am,
When he
that
have paid
doesn't,
for it.
that does not qualify, nor does it, in fact, refute anything that the court has said that you need to produce. So if you have documentation, then you have a right, you had a right to produce that, and you didn't do that. So
Your Honor, I do not have any paperwork about
Okay.
anything. Anything that I have learned is just recently.
Okay,
I was financially abused, mentally,
Ma'am.
emotionally, physically.
move on, please.
I was just alive here.
Move on. Again, you had a right to produce that. You didn't produce it. You could have engaged in, under the case scheduling order, you had a right to engage in discovery. You did not do that, and you did not produce any documentation as required by the case scheduling order. So I've given you leeway to ask him the questions, but
Your Honor,
no,
how
go
would
ahead
I
and
get?
ask questions, ma'am. I'm not going to just continue to engage in the same dispute with you. So go on.
Okay. All right. So you want every other week with your children?
Yes.
And you want holidays?
Every other week. That would include holidays.
That and on them weekends, right?
I guess it would depend where the holiday fell during the week. It's normally how that a week works.
Oh, I know. So if your kids didn't want that, like the mediator had said, what are you willing to work with?
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustain the objection.
Thank you.
So you want your kids every other weekend,
Your Honor,
even if they don't want to come?
I apologize, Your Honor. This has been, I believe, asked and answered.
It has been asked and answered. It's redundant, ma'am. Please move on.
I'm done, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm
Mr. Todd,
done.
any redirect?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Next witness, Mr. Todd?
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, so you rest?
I do.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, Mr. Todd is rested now, so you have a right to present your case. You can make an opening statement now because you reserved it, or you can waive it and then simply move on to present your witnesses. What do you like? What do you wish to do?
Make an opening statement.
Okay, go ahead.
I had moved down to Albion because I was pregnant and his grandma had passed away. That very morning she passed, he said, I want you to move in to my grandma's house tomorrow with me. So that's what we did. I had tried, I was already in college to be a paralegal. So I was going to college. I had an interview at the Culinary Art Schools of America, and he told me, if you go there, you will never get help from me. Da, 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 da. So I did not do that. I did not have a car the whole time until 2016. He had 2 vehicles. I had to ask. I went to all the doctor's appointments by myself since they were babies, all the dentist appointments. The school does not even know him. He just started going to wrestling meets last year for my son and an orchestra concerts for my son last year. Before then, he had only been to 1 school trip with my daughter, his stepdaughter, when she was in the 5th grade to go up to Mackinac in 2019, which he also was not living in the house because he had moved out to his parents' house just like now for a year. They have let us live in this house since December 2022 with no issue. Michael has paid for the house, he's paid for the car, he's paid for everything, just like he says, since he has done since 2010. This has never been an issue with him up until now. What else? I would.
What else, bitch? Mayor just donated 5 memberships. Thank you, Mayor. We love you so much. Oh, good golly. This is not good. I'm fucking dying laughing reading these comments about her hitting up the First of all, I thought you guys were going to go with the CIA, right? Like she was going to be in the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. But in fact, she was getting her paralegal degree at the Culinary Institute of America. That totally makes sense, right? Right? Oh, a paralegal. Different. Is that like a... like that's a cooking thing, right? Is it really? Oh, maybe that will be good for members only. By the way, members only... Sunday. This Sunday. All the Sundays mostly, but especially this one. I see y'all more than he sees or she claims he sees the kids. Perhaps a fruity attorney. Here's the thing. There has to be attorneys that specialize in food. I know there are. I love that for them. Although it might ruin a few things about wanting to eat different places, or maybe not. Also, I think that we should just continue, Paisley, because we're just gotta have to finish this tonight. So let's just get it going.
Was not allowed to know the financials. I never knew of any bills coming in. I did not know anything. I was told the bare minimum. I was a housewife who took care of the kids and barely left unless it was for health issues, appointments, school stuff, which I had to ask for the keys to. I wasn't even allowed to go out and have friends or it would be an issue until 2017 when we opened that restaurant with his parents. He had books of our money that are on the computer. And his parents have owed us thousands of dollars from it, which he's showing we don't have anything, which is completely not true. I started having to drop my kids off to him in January of 2023 every other weekend because he would not take them. He left in December 2022, but would be back and forth. In July 1st, after midnight of 2023, he had went and stayed at his parents' house. He did not speak to me or the kids until from July until September. And he's still buying all the household items for us. He's doing everything that he normally would. But now it's an issue that I don't work. I have health issues. I have health issues so bad that I can only work about 12 hours a week. And he knows this. He's taken me to plenty of doctor's appointments. Plenty of them. His parents watched our kids when we would go on vacation. After his mother tried to put her hands on me in 2017, they no longer had contact with my kids unless he was there living with them. In 2019, when he had left, they never went over there, not once. They see their grandkids now because he lives in their house. That's it. We have paid all the bills here. We have redone this house, 3 rooms now. We have a lifetime warranty on some of the stuff in the house. Man. I was told that the jobs that I could get around here would not equal up to the amount of food stamps that we were getting. It wouldn't equal out. So it was never okay. He would tell me that his parents were not watching my kids. And if he says don't, they do not. I used to be very close to his mother. Like I said, I would go down there and talk to her about all of this stuff about him.
Anything else, ma'am? You will have a right to testify. This is just
No,
your
Your
opening
Honor.
argument.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, your first witness, do you wish to testify?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have you raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Ma'am, what would you like to tell me?
I never was allowed financial anything. He never told me. His parents have had stuff of ours in their name forever, money wise, everything. So I know there's hidden assets. I know there is. And with the IR, right?
Maybe you need to be worried about the IRS, not the IRA. She did not. That was her opening statement. Remember, she reserved it. Pretty smart of her, not. That was her opening statement. She wasn't sworn in. That was her playing attorney. Now this is testimony, guys. This is real. Look at her face. She fucking means it. Here we fucking go.
He told me that it was $400,000 split up. So I'm not seeing how it's not anymore. I believed him because it was my husband. I found we did go on vacations. I keep everything, receipts, everything, plane tickets. Recently I had gone through them, going down memory lane, and noticed that he was using the name Michael Maddox Thomas. That was the name on the credit card. I noticed that with the bills, his name was changing on them. He's now Michael T. Maddox on everything. He was changing some of the bills to Maddox Mike Maddox. So I don't know anything about his life. It was basically a lie to me, like everything. Everything was hidden. That's why I had no knowledge of anything. I trusted my husband. I believed him. He said, your job is stay home, take care of the kids, everything, the house. That is why he sat back in his bedroom when he, would be home and not working out. He has picked up the kids once from the football game the other night since January of 2023. Or 2024, I'm sorry. He has taken them to a movie twice. He does not do the grocery shopping for them. His father does. He does cook them some meals. He he does not pick them up. He does not drop them off. His dad does everything for these kids. His dad takes my son to work out. He does not. That is his thing though, is working out. My son's trainer working out is actually not his grandfather. It is a man named Mark Rice. My son, I hear about him, or else I wouldn't know who he was. I hate hearing my kids cry that they don't want to leave on the weekends. I don't want to hear anything like that. The kids go over there because I started dropping them off. I got told to stop dropping them off, that if he wanted them, he would get them. The first time I did that, he asked them, so your mom's not gonna drop you off? And I don't know if his son ignored it. I don't know. But the next week that they were supposed to come, there was a text message sent to one of our phones from him that said, if you guys do not come this weekend, I'm not giving you guys grocery money for the week. I have health issues that do not allow me to work like that. I have POTS, which is a blood pressure thing. I cannot stand up fast. I cannot get up out of bed too fast. I cannot vacuum for too long. I get dizzy and almost pass out, reaching from inside my dryer or my washer to change the clothes over to my dryer. He was fully understandable of all this stuff when I got diagnosed, but now recollects none of it. He was my husband. He's who I had to take care of me. And I do have a friend, Jaquan Taylor. He is not my boyfriend. I've known him for almost 20 years from a completely different city. He was driving me the day that he had said because I had an issue with my POTS, which if I have to pick up my kids, I'm obviously not going to drive. I don't have family close to me. I don't have anybody to help me. So yes, I called him to do that. He has a past, so I don't know why he would say he doesn't want to decline around my kids. I feel I had a complete fake marriage. I know nothing about him. Everything was hidden. I every single thing except for anything that had to do with our kids was hidden from me. And he made me feel like it was because he was my husband and taking care of stuff and I could trust and believe him. Why would I not? I'm done, Your Honor.
That's it? That's all you've got?
Anything else, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Is the rest of this going to be his ruling?
Okay,
Oh
Mr.
my-
Todd, any cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Oh my god, power move! Oh, Wesley! Yes! That was incredible. That's the power move. Oh, wow. Yes. Yes. Yes, Wesley. Yes! Thank you! That look at her face. She's like, what? I was not done? I need to be asked some questions so that I can redirect my anger. Oh, I'm sure we'll still get some closing arguments here. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, any additional witness?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So you rest, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Okay, that concludes the proofs in this matter. Court will then go, Mr. Todd, you have a right to make a closing argument. You can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as it relates to property division, we would rely upon our property chart. We would argue based off of our property chart that Miss Maddox should pay Mr. Maddox $5,261 for equalization. If she chooses to retain the Explorer, we would also request a hold harmless clause for that debt on the Explorer, and if payment is missed, that the property would be sold and the proceeds equally divided. Alternatively, we would offer that if she cannot afford to pay the Explorer, Mr. Maddox would give Miss Maddox the Buick and keep the Explorer himself. And we would request nobody owe anybody anything. There
Okay,
is
hold on then. Let me ask Ms. Maddox in this. Ms. Maddox, they're asking that you would take the Explorer, but alternatively, if you can't afford it or don't want it, that you would take the Buick LaCrosse, and then there would be no amount owed to the plaintiff in this matter. What do you wish to do?
My kids cannot even fit in that car. I would
I'm
like
not
to keep
asking you.
my
I asked you
truck.
what you want to do, ma'am.
I would like to keep my truck, but the Kelly Blue Book value that they
Okay.
have is very wrong. So that
Okay,
amount
ma'am,
is wrong.
okay, I've told you before that we're taking the values on the property chart. I'm just asking you what you want at this point. You want to keep the Explorer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Todd.
Take care. Additionally, Mr. Maddox does need to pick up the firearms that are at the property. So we are requesting a time frame to do that. Mr. Maddox has no issue with dividing the vested 401k balance via a quadro. In terms of the
Streamlabs, you're failing me. Streamlabs, you're failing me. Streamlabs, you're failing me. Why didn't you post up this thing? I couldn't finish it. My singing's terrible, but I'll say thank you. I love it. appreciate that. I think we might get a ruling.
Children, we believe that there is an established custodial environment with both parents. We are seeking joint legal and joint physical custody, with parenting time being every other week. In terms of factor A, the love, affection, emotional ties between the parties, we believe that this factor is equal. In terms of factor B, the capacity and disposition to give the children love, affection, and continue their education, we believe that this factor is also equal. In terms of the capacity and disposition to provide the children with food, clothing, medical care, or other care as necessary, we believe that this factor favors Mr. Maddox. He not only provides financially, has done so without reliance upon others for a significant amount of time. He has a significantly more stable income. Ms. Maddox either has no income at this point, or if her disabilities are significant enough, she can apply for disability and get that. In terms of the length of time the children have lived in a stable, satisfactory environment, we believe that this factor is equal. In terms of the permanence as a family unit of the proposed custodial homes, we believe that this factor favors Mr. Maddox. Ms. Maddox is being evicted, and she testified that she does not have family around. Mr. Maddox obviously has a significant amount of involvement with his family. In terms of the moral fitness of the parties involved, we believe that this factor favors Mr. Maddox. Miss Maddox has had the children around someone who has a significant criminal history. We will get to that a little bit later. In terms of the mental and physical health of the parties involved, again, believe this factors Mr. Maddox. Either Miss Maddox is capable of working, or she has some type of mental or physical issue significantly impacting her ability to actually parent the children, or she could get SSD. In terms of the homeschool community record of the children, we believe that this is equal. And we are respectfully requesting that the children not be around Mr. Daquan Taylor. In terms of child support, I believe Mr. Maddox testified that he gets 80 hours a week at $31.65 an hour, healthcare coverage of $178 per pay period, and individual account would, or an individual healthcare coverage would be about $66 per pay period. So we would subtract that amount. We would respectfully request Ms. Maddox be imputed minimum wage at 40 hours a week. And I believe that is all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Maddox, you have opportunity now to provide your closing argument if you wish to do so.
Yes, I do. Okay. Well, the Ford Explorer, I would like to keep. That is the wrong value of the truck because it is the wrong mileage. My kids cannot fit in the Buick LaCrosse, so I would not like that. That's the whole reason why I had moved up from a car to a truck. What is the vested balance in the 401k instead of the whole balance being used?
The balance that's on the chart is $13,131.
But the balance on the exhibit is $21,000.
Well, I don't know what exhibit you're talking about, but and there was no exhibit introduced in this matter with any values on it. Ma'am,
It was sent to me from his lawyer.
Well, he could have sent
It says
anything to you.
Exhibit 6.
It's not an exhibit. It was, whatever was sent to you was not admitted as an exhibit, so effectively it doesn't exist.
His lawyer sent me false paperwork.
Ma'am, that's not what I said. I'm saying the exhibit or whatever paperwork you have was not admitted as an exhibit. So to the court, it doesn't exist. You could have hundreds of pages of paperwork And if you don't admit it as an exhibit, then it doesn't exist for purposes of the court.
So he just said he had sent it in. Okay. The firearms, that's fine. As far as my home, like I've said, I have the houses around here are very, very hard to find to rent. And a house is being worked on. It will be done in the middle of next month. I have taken care of my kids since he left. He has given me $200 for grocery when he wasn't feeling mean a week. My mental health is just fine to take care of my kids. That's why they have been with me and just started staying with their dad in January of 2024 every other weekend when I had to drop them off and make him keep them. The established living situation has been with me. He has been out of the home since December 2022. I don't understand like how I have asked for alimony, so I don't know why that's not being discussed. He kept me home for since 2010. So I do not understand why I would not be getting it. He has paid for everything up until, he hasn't even stopped right now. So, I mean, you've taken care of it for that long. I've been married to you for over 10 years. I mean, the established home is with me. He does not see them equally. It is every other weekend, no holidays. He doesn't answer my kids if they're not with him when they call, when they text. I have sent him text messages saying we need this for the house. He has known about my health history. He's known that I couldn't even work that much, and he's been the one to stop me saying it wouldn't equal out to food stamps. I'm the one who has taken them to all doctor's appointments. He was not even there to sign his daughter's birth certificate. He signed the affidavit. So, I don't understand the joint legal custody when I have dealt with it all. Besides payments and having the insurance, which my kids have been on Medicaid for most of their lives. Let's see, physical custody, I feel like should not be joint. I have asked him multiple times to do week on, week off with me because of my health and how it's a lot. I don't see why he should receive that now when he's been given the opportunity and he wants holidays now when I've asked him and he says no. He doesn't get his kids. He doesn't take them on vacations. He stays at the house. His dad does everything in the house for them. He might cook them things sometimes. He just recently went out with them. He just recently picked them up and dropped them off for the first time last weekend. He was not at birthday parties of my kids if it was outside of the house, which we just always do cake and ice cream. So he was involved when he could be. He doesn't go to school functions. So the legal custody, I don't understand why he would want it. In physical, you didn't want it, and I have had them. They've been living with me since December 2022, just fine. He didn't seem to feel the need to take them more than when it was at his free will. But now that we're in court and there's money and payments involved, he seems to want them. I have sat here in this marriage not knowing anything, having him do everything for me, saying, I just want the best for you and you to live a really good life. I want your life so easy. But now it's all of a sudden she doesn't want to work. She can't work. Like, I can't work. I can 12 hours a week. 12 hours a week. I am going through the disability stages. So I'm doing everything that I need to do. He's only giving me $200 a week.
I don't want to be totally rude, but I will just explain that, ma'am, you've sat on camera for the last, I don't know, 2 hours. So you might be able to do that. Also, yeah, her attitude is just piss poor. Piss poor. And like Miss Carrie's saying, like, yeah, sometimes when you're the parent that works, you can't go to everything. When you're the parent that has to make sure everything's handled, you don't get to go to all the fun stuff. Because somebody has to pay for it.
Starting in January of this year or February, gone since December 2022. I don't know how I couldn't have been taking care of my kids, and I don't know how I could take care of them on $200 a week when I have 3 kids. He does buy the school clothes, he pays for their phone, he pays for everything because he had me as a stay-at-home wife and mother. So it's not that I didn't want to. He had a little side job hustle that I ran. I would work 9 hours out of the day for weeks on end to get everything done for him. So I definitely contributed. I also, before COVID, started making crafts and selling them and was making more than most people make at their jobs. No matter what, I have always contributed to this family. My parents have bought the kids school clothes. My parents today drove an hour away to take my kids to the courthouse in Battle Creek. My parents are willing to do anything. So me not having family around means nothing. They're both retired. They're both very young still and are willing to do anything for us. So I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to be without money. I have always taken care of my kids. Or why would he not take them from me? If I couldn't provide and do everything that I'm doing, like they are saying, then why hasn't he taken them? Why didn't he do anything about it if it was at his free will? So me finding a house within the next 3 weeks is not good enough as him taking them to live at his parents' house. I'm just not understanding.
Her parents didn't even show up to testify. None
My
of this
mental
is
stability
evidence.
is just fine.
I know that Mr. Todd is giving her grace because all of this assumes facts, not in evidence, and is like new testimony. That's not what a closing statement is for. It's to sum up what you already presented and to go through the factors just like Mr. Todd did. So what she's doing is introducing completely new things. None of this came up. We didn't hear about your family supporting you. We didn't hear about any of this. This is so fucking crazy. And the entitlement when she said about her parents. I'll be taken care of. Bitch, you just talked for an hour about how you need help. Yeah, he's doing great. I think he knows this is just such a slam dunk in the legal sense. Like, it's not Law and Order. Her emotional tirade is never going to get the judge to change his mind.
Besides having stress, anxiety, and depression from all this, from him going back and forth, from what, November, October of 2022 until what, July of 2023, he kept, or no, January of 2024, he has gone back and forth from his mother and father's house to my house at his own free will because his parents always let him. Me and my kids since 2010 have constantly gone through him leaving us all the time and going and being able to stay at his parents' house. All the time. Him not speaking to them for 6 months almost when he left really had a big impact. In 2019, when he did it also and didn't speak to them at all because they did not have cell phones, would not answer me, had a huge impact also. That is mental abuse and emotional abuse on anybody. I sat here and asked questions today to his parents and him that they blatantly lied about. I would not feel so confident to talk about this stuff if I was lying. That's why I have recollection of stuff and they don't. I took my kids away from them when they were toddlers because I started noticing little, I'm going to say disgusting things that they do as people. The way that they speak, the way that they talked about people, the things that they said, really. My kids have been with me. And even if he was taking them for the last year, I still have them 313 days out of the whole year. That's not equal. And it hasn't even been a full year of him doing it. I feel like if I was giving him this opportunity and he did not take it, now you're doing it for money. Now, like, it just, there's some ulterior motive.
Hold on, I just thought of something. What would Judge Bronlick have done about this? He would not have let her speak like this. I think the Xanax are wearing off Cellulite Yoga Pants. I think that's what's happened. That's what I think's happening. He would shut her down. He'd mute her. Ma'am, I've muted you. This is not time for you to talk about new things. The time for that is past. You rested your case. Are you finished? Stop crying.
And I feel like my kids should not be put in that position because they are not pawns. I have never kept my kids from him, but some advocate told me to stop dropping them off probably in July and said if he wants them, he needs to come and get them because if you drop them off, he does not have to give them back to you. Which I was never worried about that. I had given them the opportunity to have week on week.
You parents need to work together. Your children will have the best chance if you manage to come together for them and work together. You have this many years left of this, and it's unheard of that you want the court, somebody who doesn't even know your family, to make these decisions for you. Can't you be adults and come together for the sake of your children? If not, then I will. That's Judge Bronlick. He's also Michigan.
Off because me being stuck and secluded with only my kids and my husband since 2010 and not having nobody, I went through it. You know, it was a lot on me, so I asked him to do this. He did not want it. He said, I have to work, and works from home. The kids get on the bus before he starts work, almost 2 hours before he starts work. He works from home. The kids go to school in the same city that he works in. I mean, if him working was the issue then I don't see why it wouldn't still be the same issue. I was not allowed to work. I wasn't allowed to go to school. I am on the domestic violence list everywhere. Because of things that I've gone through. It was financial abuse. It was mental, emotional, physical, long time, like everything has happened between us. He was with me since 2010 until he moved out in December of 2022. And he's saying she refused to work, but you stayed with me. If I was so horrible, didn't do this, didn't do that, why would he have been with me for so long? How did my kids go through school? And talking about the kids' grades, he doesn't know because they're not all that great. It's my daughter's first year of middle school. I told him about the problem she was having with the kids at school and said I might need you because it was sexual harassment on my daughter. I told him about that. She did not. I sit there and tell my kids that's something you need to text your dad because he would like to know that. So that's when they do it. Sometimes they tell me no. They're scared to ask him for anything. Like anything. Like they're scared to ask him for toilet paper for our house. And toothpaste and everything else that he has.
Because that's an inappropriate thing for you to ask your children to ask your ex-husband for, or your current husband. That's inappropriate. You don't put children in the middle in a position where they have to ask their parent for supplies. Again, I just, like, you gotta hustle. You gotta move. You gotta work. Ma'am, like, you gotta. She sure can talk.
Has been paying for since 2010 with no problems. No hesitation, no mean words, nothing.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna ask you to wrap up and try to confine yourself to what the evidence showed in the case.
Everything in my life was hidden from me because he had a hidden agenda. And most of the stuff I didn't know about, most of the stuff he lied about. the Kelly Blue Book value on the truck. I'm willing to keep the truck, but that's wrong. The Kelly Blue Book value is very wrong. And I did not get this stuff until just like from him, which his lawyer, who sent extra stuff that you guys didn't even get. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like the legal and physical custody of my kids needs to stay how it is because they don't need their school lives disrupted. I'm the one that is keeping them on track and doing what they need to do. I do the sports, I do the driving. He feels like he needs to control me with, gas money or whatever. And then sometimes I have to tell them no, but I figure it out. I'm just fine to take care of my kids and have been. Seems how he never took them. Yeah, I'm done, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Todd, any thing else?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. It was stated in closing as well as testified that previously every other week was offered. We would deny that it was previously ever offered, but we're certainly happy to take that. And we're requesting that the court do that. But nothing beyond that, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Well, in this case, court's heard the testimony of the witnesses as well as the exhibits in this case. I would note, I'll speak to the issues of property first, but the court will note in each case, credibility is always a consideration. Oftentimes, the party will argue that the other party or one of their witnesses is not truthful or is lying. The court has, however, found that inconsistencies in testimony does not mean that an individual has lied. Conflicting testimony can occur as a result of the witness's background, perception, bias, understanding, misunderstanding, or simply by mistake. When inconsistencies occur, the court will attempt to determine if they can be reconciled by other testimony or evidence in a case. There has obviously been some conflicting testimony in this case, and it's for the most part to the extent that the court normally sees, and the court will assess the credibility of the witnesses and the evidence presented in this case. As I said, I'll address the property first, and the court will note in the property or the case scheduling order dated July 22, 2024, the court has a provision that says property division charts. It says charts shall be filed and exchanged no later than 21 days after the first mediation date. Any appraisals or other supporting evidence must be attached to the chart. If one party fails to file a chart, the court will use the filing party's chart to determine property and its value. And if both parties fail to file, the court will assume there's no significant property issues. In this case, the plaintiff did file a property division chart in this particular case. The court would note that the mediation date in this case, the mediation was set for September 2024. The parties had alluded to the mediation, so that did occur, and that mediation occurred on September 25, 2024. And again, in this matter, the only property division chart filed was by the plaintiff. So the court is left with accepting that chart as the values in this case. In this matter, it is stated that the defendant can receive the 2022 Florida Explorer, which she states she wants to receive. She does dispute the values. However, again, she did not produce anything by way of testimony or exhibits or evidence. She does.
Whoops, I went back 30 seconds. So eager to answer your question. Carla, wake and bake just means when you wake up, you get baked. I used to say, I have 2 bowls of cereal or so, sorry, I have 2 bowls for breakfast, but only one of them is cereal, because smoking a bowl, I smoke weed all day long, so that's just the way it is. But it's legal, don't worry. But yeah. Oh, hotboxing. Hotboxing in the morning is something I love to do. Take a nice hot bath, get that bathroom all blue with smoke. There we go. That's just the way it is. Okay, go, go, go. I think we're getting a ruling, by the way.
Dispute the values. However, again, she did not produce anything by way of testimony or exhibits or evidence to establish the value in that, other than as set forth in the plaintiff's property division chart. Further, as to the amount owed, the court will determine it has a value as set forth in the chart of $13,427. The plaintiff would take and receive the 2011 Buick LaCrosse that has a value of $5,455. The plaintiff has provided the balances on the 401k account that in fact has a value of $13,131. The defendant has disputed this and said that they had previously had some other document that had shown that it had a higher value. However, as stated in this matter, and that values of the 401ks do fluctuate. They fluctuate from month to month, year to year, et cetera. And notwithstanding the fact that it may have a greater value previously, or even a greater value at some time in the future, the value as set forth in the property division chart is the $13,131, and the court will accept that as the value in this particular case. The plaintiff has stated he has requested a return of his firearms that he has. He has a value of $1,200 on those. The court will award the firearms to him with a value of $1,200. Or further in this matter, we'll note that the personal property in this matter, meaning the furniture, furnishings, and appliances in the home occupied by the defendant, is deemed to have a value of $3,750, and the court will award that amount to her. The court will, on the 401k, as it has been alleged that it has, again, the value as previously stated, and that, again, that amount will be divided between the parties equally. That gives each of the parties in this case a value of $6,565.50. There is a equalization, if you would, that is necessary to be paid to the plaintiff of $5,261 to equalize the values of the personal property, vehicles, etc. And when the court does that, and division of the
So she's getting $1,200.
401k, that would result, based upon following the equalization, that the defendant would be and would receive, I'm not going to do it through a quadro, Mr. Todd, is that it's just not sufficient to do so when you're looking for an equalization payment of this amount. What the court's going to do is order that
Yeah, she's talking to somebody. She's hiding her face. Sneaky little bitch.
when I come up and calculate all of the amounts owed back and forth to the parties in this matter, it looks like that there is quite frankly, the court looks at its minimal amount, means that the plaintiff would be entitled to receive the sum of $1,304.45 to equalize all of the personal property and the 401k. So the court would order that she would in fact receive that money, the $1,304.45, either through a payment by the plaintiff to her, which shall occur within 90 days of today's date, or through a quadro for that particular amount. I'll leave it up to your client as to what he wants to do, being that it's a minimal amount. He may he may want to simply pay that in cash. If he does, then the amount under the 401k is awarded solely to him, free and clear of any claim on the part of the defendant.
Though I'm not quite sure. So they're splitting his
I
401k.
apologize
She
to interrupt, Your
owes
Honor.
for
If
the
you could just
car.
repeat that 1,300 number again.
Okay, let me get to my $1,304.45.
Great, thank you, Your Honor.
That's in taking into account all the other personal property and the 401k and the vehicles, as I stated.
Yep.
That's the deficiency owed to her.
Got it.
In this matter, the court will note that there has been, and in fact, the defendant has made a lot of allegations, but the court will note that she has not provided any evidence to substantiate those allegations. The court can only make a decision based upon the testimony and the evidence presented, not upon allegations. So the court is limited as to what the court can consider based upon, again, the evidence presented through witness testimony and exhibits in this matter. The only exhibit that was presented was Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 in this case. There was no other exhibits presented, and as a result, the court can only consider that particular exhibit in deciding, again, the issues before the court. The exhibit provided was the final judgment of eviction from the district court, which the defendant has apparently appealed in this matter, but the court will accept that because that is the only thing that is presented at this particular time. When the court, I'll next turn to the issue of the children. When the court, again, has to decide custody, the court will note for the parties that the court has to, pursuant to statute, which is MCL 722.26A, provides in custody dispute between parties, the parent shall be advised of joint custody, and at the request of either party, the court shall consider an award of joint custody. In this matter, the court has to look at the factors enumerated under Section 3, which is MCL 722.23, the best interest of the child test, which the court will address in a moment. And the court has to consider, too, whether the parents are able to cooperate and generally agree concerning important decisions affecting the welfare of the children. So the court will go through the best interest of the child test in this matter. But before doing so, the court has to, again, determine whether there is an established custodial environment. An established custodial environment exists if over an appreciable time, the children naturally look to the custodian in that environment for guidance, discipline, necessities of life, and parental comfort. The statute provides that the age of the children, the physical environment, the inclination of the custodian, and the children to the permanency of the relationship shall be considered. In this particular matter, the court does look at all of those factors. In this case, the children are of older age. I mean, you have Nadia is 11 and Carlos is 13. As I stated, I did have an opportunity to interview them and determine their preference, which the court will consider as we go to that particular factor. The court notes that the testimony in this matter does, in fact, show that through the testimony of Charles Maddox, the grandfather, he testified that the children do go to the plaintiff for guidance, that they talk about, again, catching up on the day, things that are bothering him. The plaintiff had testified that, again, he did have this issue with Nadia at school about being bullied, and that he did, in fact, discuss the issue with her, that he gave her some ideas on how to address that in this matter, as well as, again, other issues that he says that he has open dialogue with the children on, and that they have discussed to help and assist the children. So the court would determine that, yes, and I think the plaintiff had testified as well that, yes, as he testified, both of the parties have a bond with the children. He testified that the defendant has a bond with the children. She had testified that, again, she does discuss things with the children as well. The court will determine, based upon all of the testimony in this case, that there is, in fact, an established custodial environment with both of the parents. The court will note that this exists, even though, as the defendant stated, that the plaintiff left the home in December of 2022, that he was back, and then he left, I guess, for good sometime in 2023. But I guess I'll note that the testimony of of the plaintiff was that, again, there was no set schedule in place, that in fact, the parties were very fluent, very flexible as it related to parenting time. Sometimes they would exchange the children on Monday, sometimes Wednesday, sometimes other days in this particular matter. So it does appear in this matter that the parties have been able to, again, reach agreements as it relates to important decisions affecting the children. And the court has not been presented by any evidence that they have not been able to do so. As a result, to change the established custodial environment, a party must show by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the children to do so. Clear and convincing evidence is evidence which produces in the mind of the trier of fact a firm belief or conviction as to the truth of the allegations sought to be established. Evidence so clear, direct, and weighty and convincing as to enable the fact finder to come to a clear conviction without hesitancy of the truth of the facts in issue or dispute. In this case, the court will now go over the best interest factor. First factor is the love, affection, emotional ties existing between the parties involved and the child. In this case, again, rightfully, the plaintiff says, yes, there's bonding between the children and both of the parents, that there's love, affection shown. We could see that more so in the testimony from the plaintiff's witnesses, where, again, Mr. Charles Maddox had testified that the children were excited to see him. They'd hug, they would smile, that in fact, Kim Maddox testified to the same thing, that they would express terms of endearment as well, that they showed that, and the plaintiff testified as well that, again, there were exhibit signs of affection, etc. The court does believe that there was a testimony from the defendant to that point. The court will find this factor to weigh equally as to both parties. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide love, affection, guidance, and continuation in the education and raising the children in a particular religion or creed. There's been very little, if any, testimony about any religious involvement of the parents or the children. And quite frankly, there is very little evidence about any educational, I guess you'd say, involvement or on that particular issue. So the court has given those very little weight. But it does appear that both of the parties had the capacity and disposition to provide the children with love and affection and guidance. So the court will find that factor to be equal. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide the children with food, clothing, medical care, and other remedial care recognized by the laws in place of medical care or other material needs. Court does note that the defendant has stated and acknowledged that she's not been employed during the pendency of this action nor during the marriage. So clearly she doesn't have the capacity to provide the material needs. And she has also taken issue with what the plaintiff has provided, but he has in fact testified that he was the one that provided for and paid all the bills, paid all of the expenses. She acknowledges that he had given her money for various things throughout the course of the pendency of the divorce. Quite frankly, the court not know whether that was through testimony or simply when she was giving arguments, but notwithstanding that, it does appear that the plaintiff has been the one responsible for that, and he therefore has the capacity and disposition. Court notes that she has the disposition but has a lesser capacity, and as a result, the court will find this factor does weigh slightly in favor of the plaintiff father. Next factor is the length of time that children have lived in a stable, satisfactory environment and the desirability of maintaining continuity. There's been testimony from both of the plaintiff's parents that in fact they have engaged and in fact filed eviction proceedings on the defendant. She acknowledges as well that she's being evicted, although she's challenging that on appeal. The court will note, notwithstanding that again, something is happening in this regard, that the house is a house that's in their name, it's not in the parties' names, that in fact, court notes based upon those proceedings that there is a issue as it relates to the continuity of that stable environment. And as a result, the court will find that this factor does favor the plaintiff father. Next factor is the permanency of the family unit, existing or proposed custodial home or homes. In this matter, neither party has testified as to any change or potential change in the family unit, and the court will therefore consider it's equal as to both parties. Next factor is the moral fitness of the parties involved. Although the defendant has argued about the moral fitness of the plaintiff, she has not produced any evidence by way of testimony or exhibits or anything as it relates to the moral fitness. So the court is left with finding that this factor is equal as to both parties. Next factor is the mental and physical health of the parties involved. The court has to look at, again, mental and physical health as whether it would have a significant impact upon the ability to raise the children in this matter. And although it's been testified by the defendant that she has some issues in this matter, the court has not seen any evidence that it in fact impacts her ability to care for the children, and likewise have not seen anything as it relates to the care of by the plaintiff. So the court will find this factor is equal as to both parties. Next factor is the homeschool and community record of the child or children. in this case, there's been, again, very little testimony about the school or community record at any, but the court notes that there has been some brief testimony about the children engaging in school activities, that the plaintiff had testified that he helps the children with their schoolwork, homework, so to speak. That he said that the children are doing well in school, that in fact, the court will note that there's testimony that their son Carlos has been involved in school activities, that he had previously been involved in wrestling, that he's this year involved in basketball, he's been involved in orchestra, and the testimony was, again, from the plaintiff that he has purchased and paid for the equipment necessary in this matter, but the court doesn't find that, again, overwhelming to change this. The court will find that this factor does weigh in favor of both of the parties in this matter. They're both involved. The defendant has testified she has been more involved, but again, the plaintiff has testified that he has been involved in those sports activities as well as orchestra, et cetera. So the court is going to weigh that factor equally. Next factor is the reasonable preference of the children. Court does deem them to be a sufficient age to express a preference, so the court is taking that into consideration. Next factor is the willingness and ability of each of the parents to facilitate, encourage a close and continued parent-child relationship between the children and the other parent. In this matter, it does appear, based upon the testimony, that the parties have been pretty flexible and fluid as it relates to parenting time, and that in fact that the parenting time has been offered. In some instances it has not been taken, but it has been offered, and as a result the court will find that this factor weighs equally as to both parties. Next factor is domestic violence, regardless of whether the violence was directed against or witnessed by the children. There's really been no testimony about any domestic violence, although the defendant has argued that in her closing argument, et cetera, but there's not been any credible evidence of that. So the court will find this factor does weigh equally as to both parties. Next factor is any other factor considered by the court to be relevant in the particular parent-child dispute. The court will consider relevant in this matter is that, in fact, the parties, and in this case, the plaintiff, had stated that she had attempted to get the plaintiff to take joint alternating week parenting time in this case. She says that he had refused that. He testifies, again, back to it was a fluid situation, but the court does note that she has repeatedly, either through argument or testimony, had stated that she was willing to do that, and that he simply did not take her up on that. Although, again, the testimony shows a little bit of maybe confusion or I guess you say conflicting testimony as it relates to that. When the court considers all of the factors under the Child Custody Act, the court can, based upon case law, can give greater weight to some factors, lesser weight to others, and the court doesn't consider them as a baseball box score where we simply add them up and then that is the winner and that is the loser in this matter. What the court has to consider this is based upon the burden of proof of clear and convincing evidence. Does the evidence, is it so clear, direct, and weighty and convincing as to enable the fact finder to come to a clear conviction without hesitancy of the truth of the precise fact and issue? In this case, the evidence does convince the court in this matter that the court should and will award to the parties joint legal and joint physical custody. That joint physical custody will be exercised by the parties in a alternating weekly basis. The parties will exchange that time on Fridays at 5 o'clock p.m. through the following Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. And during the week that each of the parents have the children, the other party would entitled to a midweek. If they can't agree on a different day, it would be entitled to a Wednesday from 4 until 8 o'clock p.m. Court would also award to the parties alternating holiday parenting time pursuant to the standard front of the court schedule in this matter. And that will be the order as it relates to the parenting time. The court does believe that the parenting time in this matter is consistent with case law in this particular case, that in fact that parenting time is to be provided pursuant to Michigan compiled laws 722.27A, and the court is asked to look at the factors which I have, but now I'll address those. In this matter, I have to go through the best interest as I've previously stated, and I've evaluated those best interest factors, and the court has to consider the following factors: special circumstances and needs of the children. Court has not been aware of any testimony of any special needs of the or circumstances of the children. Second is whether the children are less than one. That's not applicable in this case. Next is the likelihood of abuse or neglect of the children during parenting time. There's been no testimony or even an allegation of that. The next is the likelihood of abuse of a parent during the exercise of parenting time. That has not been alleged as well. Next is the inconvenience or burdensome impact of travel. Parties have not testified as to any burdensome or inconvenience of travel for the children. And as it relates to that, what the court will do is order that in this matter that, again, the party receiving the children for the commencement of their week will pick up the children, and then the party that receives them the following week to get them back will, in fact, provide all the transportation picking them up. Next factor is whether the parents are reasonably expected to exercise ordered parenting time. Again, there had been no prior ordered parenting time in this case, but the court does believe that both of the parties would exercise their ordered parenting time in this case. Next is whether a parents frequently fail to exercise parenting time. Although it's been alleged, again, to that effect, the court doesn't believe that that would occur now that there has been ordered time. The parties had, again, been exercising a very nebulous schedule, if you would, and based upon, again, what worked out for them. But the court does believe, based upon the testimony, that they will exercise their court-ordered parenting time. Next is whether a parents frequently fail to exercise parenting time, as I stated. I don't believe that that will occur in this matter. Next is whether there's threatened or actual detention. There's been no allegations of that, so the court will not consider that. And last is whether any other relevant factors. And I think I've addressed those under the Child Custody Act as to any other relevant factors. Next, the court will address the issue of the child support in this matter. And child support, the court has heard the testimony of the plaintiff. He's testified in this case that he has had a gross income of $3,165 every 2 weeks. He's on a 2-week basis, that his hourly rate is $31.55 per hour. In this matter, if you take the gross amount per week, per alternating weeks, and we take that amount at multiplied by 26 weeks, that comes out to $80,985.50. In this matter, the court will note that he has testified that there is health insurance of $178 taken out every 2 weeks, when I think his testimony would be that his amount would have been just for himself, $66. As a result, that means that $112 is attributable to both the children. And in fact, that shall be a deduction from his wages for purposes of calculating support.
Wesley's about to speak up here. That is not his wage. He does make $31 an hour, but that doesn't equal out to $85K, does it? Does it? Does it? So 30, let's just do 32 an hour by 40 hours a week times 2 is only 2,560 before taxes. Then you times that by 26 pay periods in the year. That's only 66,560, and that's saying that he's making $32 an hour working 40 hours a week. So I think the judge got his math wrong. He doubled it and gave it to the next guy. And while Ashley would love that to be a mistake, I think that, did you see Michael's face? He freaked out and he fucking texted Wesley. He's like, bitch, that ain't my salary.
And that is 112 every 2 weeks, so it'd be $224 a month in this matter. Well, I shouldn't do that because again, there's a 4.3 weeks. So Mr. Todd, you'll have to calculate that amount based upon the 4.3 weeks in a month. The court will note the testimony of the defendant as if she has not worked, basically there's no dispute as to her not working in this matter, but the court will note, and I did for purposes of her closing, although it is not evidence, it would in fact establish based upon the plaintiff saying that she could work, that she hasn't worked, she chose not to work. She has, in fact, on her closing, had stated that she had worked in a side business, apparently, that the plaintiff had. She'd worked 9 hours a day for weeks on end. She'd also stated that she had a craft business where she made more than most people would make working. So based upon that, and based upon not having any testimony or evidence showing that she's not capable of working, the court will impute minimum wage income to her based upon a 40-hour work week for purposes of calculating support. You can then calculate it and provide a uniform child support order reflecting that particular amount, Mr. Todd. With that, I'll ask Mr. Todd, is there anything that you believe the court has failed to address or needs to address before we conclude?
Just for clarification, backtracking a little bit to the property. So it's my understanding that Ms. Maddox would receive the Explorer, Mr. Maddox would receive the Buick LaCrosse, Mr. Maddox would receive the entirety of his 401k, and then the equalization payment would be that 1304. Is that accurate?
That is correct. He would also receive his firearms. She would receive all of the furniture, furnishings, and appliances in the home that she's in.
And I apologize, was there a term of payment for that 1304, a time frame?
I had said that, maybe you missed, I said within 90 days.
90 days, okay.
90 days of today's date. And if he pays that, then the 401k is free and clear. If he doesn't, then the amount that 1304, I can't remember the,
Nobody gets the home,
1304.45 would
his
be
parents own the
paid
home.
out of the 401k to her.
Okay. And then I apologize, one other question is if we could get a time frame for Mr. Maddox to pick up his firearms and also a hold harmless clause or some provision in the event that the Explorer is not paid for, because it is a debt that is in my client's name.
Yeah. What we'll do in this matter, because we're so close, the court will have Mr. Maddox alternating week to again take place next weekend on Friday, November 1st, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. I'm doing that so that she gets her week here, able to, again, acclimate the children and all of that stuff. And what happens is as he's picking up the children on that day, he can pick up his firearms at that time. So, Ms. Maddox, you have to have those firearms available for him to pick up on the November 1st date when he picks up the children.
I think that's a terrible idea. Of all the things you've said, Judge, that's got to be the worst idea I've ever heard. Why on earth would you combine their first after divorce exchange with an exchange of firearms? Are you goddamn nuts? Did we just watch the same hearing? Are you joking? That's a bad idea. Exchange them at the police station. Have her bring them there or whatever. Don't involve the children in this. I don't like that. Oh yeah, kids, get you and the guns ready.
Okay, Your Honor.
With that, Mr. Todd, anything else?
Just if we could have some type of provision in the event that the Explorer isn't paid for.
Well, yeah, she is responsible for the obligation on that, and the plaintiff shall be held harmless in this matter.
There's no house.
Will
Nobody
tell
gets
you,
a house.
in view of it may end up in litigation if something were to happen, because the court cannot, again, intercede in a third-party obligation like that, but I will put it that she is responsible for that indebtedness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, is there anything you believe the court has failed to address or needs to address before we conclude? You're muted, ma'am. You have to unmute. Push the microphone. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I believe that I have been mistreated.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking.
Misunderstood.
Ma'am, is
No.
there anything else that I need to address or haven't addressed as it relates to the issues in dispute based upon what evidence has been presented? It's not your chance to argue again.
No, all
Okay.
his evidence is from his mouth, and my mouth doesn't count.
Okay, thank you. That will conclude. Mr. Todd, you can prepare the judgment, the UCSO, and judgment information form, get those filed, get approval in front of the court, and then submit them to the court.
I apologize, Your Honor. I forgot something. If we could do proofs, I apologize.
Oh, okay. We haven't done that then.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was first on my list and I missed it. I apologize, Your Honor.
Well, I think obviously in this matter, I think there's sufficient evidence to establish, but if you want to go further, Mr. Todd, you can do that.
Just very
Go ahead,
quickly,
briefly address it, just so we don't have an issue.
Thank you. Mr. Maddox, do you remember signing a complaint for divorce?
Yes,
At the time you signed that complaint, were all those allegations true? Do all those allegations remain true today?
yes,
Did you live in this state for at least 10 days or live in this county for at least 10 days in the state of Michigan for at least 180 days prior to filing the complaint?
yes,
And do you believe, to the best of your knowledge, is your wife currently pregnant?
no,
Has there been a breakdown of the marriage relationship to the extent that the objects of matrimony have been destroyed and there remains no reasonable likelihood that the marriage can be preserved?
yes,
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court will find that the testimony does establish the statutory basis. As stated, I think that was established based upon the testimony previously, but to make sure and to clarify, it's good that we address that, and the court will grant the divorce in this matter. You're not divorced until I sign the judgment, and so it might take a couple weeks for Mr. Todd to get that and to get the front of the court approval. And at the time that we have that approval, the court will sign it and you will be divorced at that time. I'll say best of luck to both of you. I hope everything works out for you. You're free to go and have a wonderful day.
thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And she pieced out. The IRA was an inheritance. He inherited the IRA. That's why it's not that's why he got to keep that entirely, because that was not part of their marital property. That was exhausting. That was seriously exhausting. I would love, oh! Well, we'll say thank you. I didn't remember to turn that off. We will, my God, her hair, I would have loved to see how many steps she did during her case. I'm so glad we managed to finish that. No cock block here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I bring you to completion. I mean, the completion. Anyways, I hope that you've had a wonderful night. Don't forget that Members Only is on Sundays. Thank you for being here and all your support. We have lots of things to think about and look at, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember that I love you and I'm proud of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Ways down red.